If a girl changes this in front of you, she likes you. Psychology facts about women, psychology tricks. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Seneca. Most men miss this because they're looking for a confession, not a pattern. But when a woman starts to like you, she rarely announces it. She adjusts, quietly, almost unconsciously. Not in a dramatic movie scene way, more like her behavior starts editing itself around you. And if you've ever sensed a shift between you and her, like the air got warmer but you couldn't explain why, you're not crazy. That feeling is usually your instincts picking up on small changes before your brain can label them. Here's the truth. When you begin to matter to her, she starts making little moves that make you easier to be close to. She might change how she positions herself when you're talking. She might soften her tone or slow down, or suddenly care a lot more about how a moment lands with you. Sometimes she becomes more aware of her appearance, fixing her hair, adjusting her clothes, checking her reflection, without even realizing she's doing it because you're there. Sometimes she changes what she talks about, less random noise, more personal details, more "this is who I am" energy. And sometimes the biggest change isn't what she does, it's what she stops doing. She stops being careless with your attention. She stops treating you like background. A woman doesn't usually decide to do these things like a strategy. It's automatic. It's emotional gravity. When someone starts to matter, you naturally start protecting the connection, your body language, your words, your timing, your effort. So if you learn to spot these shifts, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, and you stop living in that confusing space where you're asking, does she like me? While she's already showing you, just not with a speech. And once you learn to recognize those changes, you won't have to wonder where you stand with her again. 1. She adjusts her speaking pace to match yours. When a woman begins to feel drawn to you, one of the earliest and most overlooked signals shows up not in what she says, but in how she says it. And that signal is her speaking pace quietly shifting to match yours. At first, you might not notice it because the change is subtle, gradual, almost invisible unless you know where to look. But over time, something feels different in the rhythm of your conversations. She may have once spoken faster than you, or slower, or with a cadence that felt entirely her own. Yet now her words seem to arrive in sync with yours, landing with a sense of flow that wasn't there before. That is not coincidence, and it is not strategy. This is female psychology at work on a level most men never consider. When attraction begins to form, the nervous system naturally seeks harmony, and one of the fastest ways the brain builds emotional safety is by mirroring patterns, especially speech tempo. If you speak calmly and deliberately, she slows herself without realizing it. If you speak with energy and momentum, she subtly picks up the pace. Don't mistake this for imitation. Be clear, this is not performance. That is her mind reducing resistance and increasing comfort, using the most efficient tool it has. That is why this detail matters so much in psychology tricks related to connection and bonding. Watch closely and you'll see the deeper sign. When you pause, she pauses too. When you speed through a thought, she keeps up. When you soften your tone, her delivery follows. Her rhythm is no longer independent. It has adjusted to yours, and that shift signals growing emotional alignment. Most men miss this entirely because they focus on the content of the conversation instead of the structure of it. But structure reveals intent long before words do. This is one of the clearest indicators in female psychology that interest is forming beneath the surface. Don't rush to label it. Don't overreact. Simply observe and understand what is happening. That is how to fall in love with clarity instead of confusion. When you recognize these subtle cues, you stop guessing and start seeing patterns, and patterns are far more reliable than compliments or sudden enthusiasm. Be grounded. Be present. Let the rhythm guide you. Psychology tricks like this are not about control. They are about awareness. The more you understand how to fall in love through emotional synchronization, the less you rely on hope and the more you rely on insight. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it, because attraction often speaks first through timing, not words, and this quiet alignment is often the foundation for everything that follows. 2. She starts leaving small gaps in her stories for you to fill. This is where most men unknowingly step out of the moment. She's telling you about her weekend, describing a scene, a feeling, a moment, and then right in the middle, she stops. Not awkwardly, not because she lost her train of thought. She pauses, looks at you, and waits. That pause is not empty. It's an invitation. Most guys miss it completely. They nod. They say yeah or uh-huh. And just like that, the door quietly closes. But understand what is really happening here. In female psychology, those small narrative gaps are intentional, even if she isn't consciously aware of them. She's testing whether you'll step into her story with her or stand outside it like an observer. When a woman leaves space in her storytelling, she's offering co-authorship. She wants to know if you'll ask the question she's hoping for, if you'll notice the detail she left hanging, if you'll meet her halfway instead of letting her do all the emotional work. Don't rush past this moment. Be present. That is where connection either deepens or fades. This is intimacy disguised as conversation. She's handing you the thread and watching closely to see if you'll pull it. When you do, when you say, "Wait, what happened next?" Or, "Hold on, why did she say that?" Something shifts. She feels it instantly. You're no longer just listening to her life. You're participating in it. That is the behavior of a high-value man, and it's one of the quiet ways men attract women without trying to impress or perform. You must understand this. Masculine energy is not about talking more or leading forcefully. It's about stepping forward at the right moment with calm confidence. When you recognize these gaps and step into them naturally, you communicate emotional awareness, curiosity, and presence. Those traits signal safety and strength at the same time. This is why men who understand how to attract women rarely chase attention. They respond to invitations others overlook. Don't overthink it. Don't freeze. Be engaged. When you meet her in that pause, she doesn't just feel heard, she feels chosen. And that distinction changes how she sees you moving forward, because masculine energy, when grounded and attentive, turns simple conversation into shared experience, and shared experience is where attraction quietly grows. 3, she changes where she places her belongings when you're around. When a woman changes where she places her belongings in front of you, that is not random behavior. That is psychology in motion. And if you miss it, you miss one of the cleanest signals of genuine interest you will ever see. Because objects are not just objects, they are extensions of personal boundaries. As Carl Jung once said, the unconscious mind speaks in symbols long before it speaks in words, which is exactly what is happening here. Sit with her at a cafe, a dinner table, or any quiet shared space, and watch closely. When she is not interested, her belongings act like quiet guards. Her phone stays face up between you as a distraction and a shield. Her bag stays close like a divider. Her keys stay clutched or hidden, not because she planned it, but because her mind is protecting her space without her permission. Yet when attraction begins to grow, those same items begin to move, slowly, naturally, almost invisibly. The phone turns face down or disappears entirely. The bag slides away, opening the space between you. The keys drift toward your side of the table. This is not strategy or manipulation. This is her subconscious removing obstacles between herself and the man she feels safe leaning toward. Because interest does not rush forward with words. It clears paths with behavior. This is where old Stoic wisdom matters, because a man with an iron mind does not chase signals. He observes patterns. He does not interrupt the moment. He allows it to reveal itself. As Marcus Aurelius taught, you have power over your mind, not outside events, meaning your strength comes from calm awareness, not reaction. In modern life, where attention is fragmented and noise is constant, the man who notices these small shifts stands apart. Attraction often whispers before it ever speaks. When her belongings move closer to you instead of guarding her space, that is her inner world saying the walls are lowering, trust is forming, and comfort is growing. Do not rush, do not test, do not pressure, hold your frame, stay grounded, stay present. This is how Stoicism win plays out in real relationships, not through force, but through patience and perception, because the man who masters himself naturally draws others in. This is why old Stoic wisdom remains undefeated. It teaches you to see clearly without needing validation, to stand steady without needing proof, and to let interest come to you rather than chasing it. If you live this way with an iron mind, calm posture, and disciplined attention, you will notice that life itself starts opening spaces for you. Not just women, but opportunities, respect, and momentum. Because the same rule applies everywhere. What feels safe and strong attracts. What tries too hard repels. Remember that, live it, and let the details do the talking. 4. She alters how loudly she laughs depending on your proximity. When a woman alters how loudly she laughs depending on your proximity, that is not coincidence. That is communication. And if you are not listening for it, you will miss one of the most revealing psychology tricks rooted deep in female psychology. Because sound is one of the oldest social signals we have, and laughter, in particular, is rarely neutral. Picture this clearly. She is across the room, laughing with someone else, relaxed, casual, unfiltered. Then you step closer, and something subtle but precise changes. The volume adjusts, the rhythm tightens, the tone becomes brighter. Most men overlook it because they are watching faces instead of listening for patterns. Do not make that mistake. Be attentive. Be present. Because when she is attracted, her laugh is calibrated. Not exaggerated, not forced. Calibrated to reach you when you are nearby, then softened when you are right next to her, because she wants to draw you in without pushing you away. That is how to fall in love without words, through emotional signaling that feels natural and safe. This is not conscious performance. This is instinct. Her body is advertising enjoyment in your direction, quietly saying, "Notice me. Associate me with warmth. Remember this feeling." As Maya Angelou wisely said, people will never forget how you made them feel, which is exactly why her laugh becomes a tool of emotional placement, not for the room, not for attention, but for you. This is where psychology tricks become powerful when understood correctly, because the man who understands female psychology does not interrupt the moment. He does not comment on it. He does not smirk or tease. He stays grounded. He lets the signal breathe. Don't rush to respond. Don't try to match her energy too quickly. Don't call it out. That is how you break the spell. Instead, be calm, be steady, be receptive, because the contrast between her expressive warmth and your composed presence creates emotional gravity, and that is how to fall in love without effort, through polarity that feels safe and familiar. You must understand this clearly. Attraction often announces itself through sound before words, through tone before touch, through laughter before language. In modern social spaces filled with noise and distraction, the man who listens instead of reacts stands apart. Repetition reveals truth. If you notice her laugh consistently shift when you enter her space, grow audible when you are near but not engaged, soften when you are close, and carry a different texture than the one she gives others, that is not randomness. That is interest forming. Be disciplined enough to observe it. Be confident enough not to chase it. Be wise enough to let it come to you. Because psychology tricks only work when paired with patience, female psychology rewards awareness, and how to fall in love starts not with persuasion, but with perception. So listen closely next time, not with your ego, but with your attention, because the signal is already there, waiting for the man who knows how to hear it. If this resonates with you, drop a comment right now and write, "I notice what others miss." Like this video, subscribe for more sharp psychology insights, and remind yourself daily, real confidence isn't loud, it's aware. 5. She shifts her texting rhythm after spending time with you in person. This isn't about chasing replies, it's about noticing change. After you've spent real time together, an evening, a casual hangout, even a long, meaningful conversation, pay attention to what happens next. Not immediately, not during the moment, but in the day or two that follow. That's where the truth shows up. That's where psychology stops talking and starts acting. If her interest is only polite, Her texting stays flat. Same timing, same short answers, same safe functional tone. Nothing moves, nothing grows. It's like pressing play on the same song again and again, with no new notes added. But when something truly clicks, the rhythm changes. She replies a little faster, not rushed, just warmer. Her messages stretch out slightly as if she suddenly has more to say. She starts asking questions that weren't there before. Not interviews, curiosity, that's the difference. She's not just responding anymore, she's participating. She's carrying the in-person experience forward. Think of it like this. When two people connect face to face, it leaves a residue, a feeling, a mental echo. If that echo matters to her, she doesn't want it to fade. Her texting rhythm becomes the tool she uses to keep that feeling alive, not consciously, naturally. Most men fixate on response time alone. Don't do that. That is surface level thinking. Speed without substance means very little. You must watch the evolution of her communication after face-to-face contact. That's the real signal. That's where you see whether your presence landed somewhere meaningful. Be clear about this. A high-value man doesn't panic over silence. He observes patterns. He notices shifts. He understands that attraction isn't loud. It's consistent movement in one direction. If her energy expands after time with you, that's not an accident. That's interest taking shape. Don't interrogate her. Don't change your behavior to test her. Don't suddenly text more to match her pace. Stay grounded. Stay steady. That calm presence is part of what helps you attract women in the first place. This is also where masculine energy quietly does its work. Not through pressure, not through performance, but through emotional stability. When you remain composed, you give her space to lean in on her own terms. And when she does, her texting rhythm tells the story for her. Be patient. Be observant. That is strength. If after seeing you, her communication gains warmth, depth, and curiosity, that's a sign the connection mattered. If nothing shifts at all, accept the data and move forward without resentment. A high-value man respects clarity, even when it's subtle. Remember this, attraction reveals itself through change. Stillness means neutrality. Movement means interest. Learn to read rhythm, not noise. That mindset alone will help you attract women, protect your time, and carry masculine energy with quiet confidence. 6. She modifies the questions she asks from surface to specific. When a woman changes the kind of questions she asks you, from polite surface-level conversation to sharp specific curiosity, that's not random. That's a signal. Early on, her questions are easy mode. How was your day? What do you do for work? Simple, safe. Nobody risks much. But when her interest turns real, the questions tighten up. She doesn't just ask what your job is, she asks why you chose it. She doesn't just nod when you mention a friend, she asks about that friend a week later, like she's filing details in a private notebook. She circles back to something you said casually, then pulls on it like a loose thread to see what's underneath. That shift matters. A lot. Because now she's not talking to pass time, she's studying your character. She's doing emotional reconnaissance. She's building a map of who you are, what you value, what you're made of when life gets heavy, and how you move when nobody's watching. And here's the part most men miss. Those specific questions aren't a quiz. They're an invitation into depth, an invitation into trust. As Maya Angelou put it, people will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel. If she's asking deeper, it's because she's starting to feel something, and she's trying to confirm if you're safe, consistent, and real. So don't dodge. Don't joke your way out of it. Don't answer like you're reading off a resume. Match her depth. Give her the story behind the facts. Give her the reason behind the choice. Give her the lesson behind the struggle. That's where connection is built, brick by brick, truth by truth. And in modern life, this matters more than ever because most people are surrounded by noise, quick texts, shallow attention, endless scrolling, and conversations that never touch the heart. Specific questions cut through that. They're a rare thing, so treat them like a doorway. Step through it, speak clearly, be grounded, be calm. This is where old Stoic wisdom becomes your advantage because steadiness is attractive and clarity is powerful. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Be one in how you answer. Be one in how you listen. Be one in how you stay composed when she gets curious. If you want to win in love and in life, you must build an iron mind, not a guarded heart, but a disciplined presence. That's Stoicism win in real time, staying centered, speaking with purpose, and letting your character do the convincing. When her questions get specific, your job is simple. Stay honest, stay direct, stay confident. Answer with depth, answer with calm. Because when she's asking for the full picture, she's not just passing time, she's deciding if you belong in her future. And that's your moment to lead with substance, with strength, with old Stoic wisdom, and with an iron mind that makes her feel safe to come closer. If you felt that shift, from polite surface questions to sharp, specific ones, pay attention. That's not small talk. That's interest. That's her trying to understand the real you. So do this now. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with a man who keeps missing the signs right in front of him. And for the comments, write this line to lock it in your mind. Specific questions aren't small talk, they're emotional interest. 7. She changes how much silence she tolerates before speaking. Here's the truth most men miss, and you must hear it clearly. When a woman changes how much silence she tolerates with you, something real is happening beneath the surface. This is one of the most reliable insights in female psychology, if you know how to read it. Silence is not empty space. It is emotional territory. Early on, she fills that territory fast, talking quickly, smoothing gaps, laughing, asking questions, doing anything to avoid discomfort. At the beginning, she is managing impressions, managing tension, managing safety. That is not manipulation. That is human nature. So don't judge it. Observe it. As attraction grows, as comfort deepens, as connection shifts from performance to presence, her relationship with silence changes. She no longer rushes to patch the quiet. She allows pauses to exist. She lets moments hang without explanation, without apology, without nervous laughter. And that is your signal. Silence requires trust. Silence requires emotional grounding. Silence says, I don't need to prove anything right now. In female psychology, that is intimacy forming in real time. So don't interrupt it. Don't rush to fill it. Don't mistake it for boredom. Be still. That is your instruction. When she sits calmly in silence with you, she is no longer scanning for exits. She is settling in. This is where psychology tricks often fail men, because they are taught to constantly impress, constantly talk, constantly entertain. But attraction does not deepen through noise. It deepens through shared emotional safety. Silence is the test of that safety. Be present, be grounded, be comfortable in your own stillness. That is how to fall in love without forcing it. When she pauses and doesn't rush to speak, she is telling you she feels secure enough not to perform. That is rare, and it often appears long before she says anything direct. Pay attention. The shift is subtle, but powerful. She used to jump in immediately. Now she waits a beat, maybe two, maybe longer. In that pause, she is relaxed, not tense, calm, not withdrawn. This is where smart men separate themselves from confused ones. They don't panic. They don't over-explain. They don't fill the air with unnecessary words. They let the silence breathe. By doing that, they reinforce the very comfort that created the attraction in the first place. This is female psychology in action, not theory, not fantasy, real behavior. Don't chase the moment. Don't label it too early. Don't push for clarity. Be steady. Silence is not a lack of interest when attraction is growing. It is proof of ease. If you master this, you master one of the most overlooked psychology tricks there is. You understand how to fall in love in a grounded, respectful, confident way, and you stop missing signals that were never meant to be loud, only honest. 8. She adjusts her level of agreement when others are watching. Here's something most men overlook because they're listening to words instead of watching behavior, and you must learn to see it clearly. When a woman adjusts how much she agrees with you while others are watching, it is not accidental, and it is not small. Early in a connection, she protects her independence publicly. If she disagrees, she says so. If she's unsure, she stays neutral. That is normal. That is caution. She doesn't want to be misread. She doesn't want to signal attachment too early. But as her feelings grow, the pattern changes, slowly, quietly, intentionally. In group settings, when you express an opinion, she begins to lean your way, not blindly, not dramatically, but deliberately. She reinforces your point. She adds a detail that supports you. She frames her thoughts so they align with yours. That is not submission. That is alignment. And in female psychology, alignment in public is one of the strongest signals of interest there is. Don't misunderstand this moment. Don't overreact. Don't test it. Be observant. Because what she is doing is social positioning. She is saying, without saying it, we are connected. She wants the room to see you as a unit, even before anything has been defined. This is how attraction often moves in real life. Quiet signals, subtle choices, strategic agreement. She is not losing her voice. She is choosing where to stand. And when she stands beside you in front of others, that matters a lot. This is where psychology tricks fail average men, because they focus on winning the debate instead of understanding the message beneath it. But a high-value man notices patterns, not noise. He notices who aligns with him when it counts. Be calm here. Be grounded. This is not the time to puff your chest or push for validation. That would break the spell. Instead, hold your masculine energy steady. Speak clearly. Don't seek approval. Don't change your tone to impress. Let her alignment happen naturally. When she supports you in public, she is testing how safe it feels to be associated with you socially. That is huge. Women don't do that lightly. Reputation matters. Social perception matters. And she would not subtly back you if she didn't feel something building. This is also how you attract women without chasing them. You don't force agreement. You don't demand loyalty. You don't corner her into taking sides. You simply show up with clarity and calm conviction. That consistency allows her to choose alignment freely. And when she does, you'll see it not just once, but repeatedly, in different rooms, with different people. That repetition is the signal. Watch for it. You must understand this if you want to know how attraction actually grows. It's not always touch. It's not always flirtation. Sometimes it's social choreography, positioning, alliance. A quiet, I'm with him spoken without words. That is female psychology in motion. And when you recognize it, you move differently. You speak less. You observe more. You lead without forcing. That's how a high-value man carries himself. Calm, aware, unrushed. That kind of masculine energy doesn't just attract women once. It attracts them consistently because it makes alignment feel safe, natural, and earned. 9. She alters the way she says your name compared to others. When a woman changes the way she says your name compared to how she says everyone else's, pay attention, because this is one of the quietest but most reliable signals of interest you will ever encounter, and it only reveals itself to men who are calm, observant, and grounded. Listen carefully to how she speaks the names of coworkers, friends, a waiter, or someone she barely knows. Then notice what happens when she says yours. If attraction is present, the difference is unmistakable once you know what to listen for. Your name may come out softer, slower, warmer. There may be a brief pause before she says it, as if she's weighing it in her mind. She may use your name more often than the situation requires, or she may avoid saying it altogether because speaking it feels too intimate, too revealing. This is not accidental. Language is never neutral when emotion is involved. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and when her thoughts carry feeling, your name becomes more than a label. It becomes an emotional object. She handles it carefully. This is old Stoic wisdom in action, meaning hides in what is subtle, not what is loud. Most men hear their name and register nothing. They rush, they talk, they miss the moment. But the man with an iron mind listens for texture, tone, timing. He hears what is not being said. And when you notice this shift without reacting, without pressing, without seeking validation, something powerful happens. She feels it, not consciously, but deeply. She senses that you are present, self-controlled, and perceptive. That recognition lands in her, even if neither of you ever names it out loud. Epictetus said, "We have two ears and one mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." And nowhere is this more useful than in modern dating, where noise is everywhere and attention is rare. In a world of constant texting, shallow compliments, and forced confidence, the man who practices Stoicism understands that attraction grows in silence, in awareness, in restraint. Do not comment on it. Do not tease her about it. Do not ask what it means. Observe. Stay steady. Let her lean in emotionally while you remain grounded. This is how a man masters life and relationships at the same time. This is how old Stoic wisdom becomes practical power. When you train an iron mind, you stop chasing signals and start reading reality. And reality is simple. When a woman feels something, her voice reveals it before her words ever do. Stay calm. Stay sharp. Listen closely. This is Stoicism win in real life, where victory comes not from force, but from awareness, discipline, and quiet confidence. If you caught this detail, you're no longer guessing. You're reading the room with precision. Most men hear their name and feel nothing. You heard the weight, the pause, the softness, the meaning. Comment this to lock it in. I listen to what her voice reveals, not just what her words say. 10. She changes how quickly she reveals inconvenient truths about herself. When a woman changes how quickly she reveals inconvenient truths about herself, pay attention, because this is not small talk. This is female psychology in motion, and most men miss it. When she is simply being polite or friendly, she presents the polished version of herself, the safe stories, the highlights, the parts that make social interaction easy and predictable, and that is normal. That is how adults move through the world. But when attraction enters the picture, something counterintuitive happens, something deeply human. She begins to share the parts that don't make her look impressive, the mistakes, the awkward moments, the fears she doesn't casually broadcast, things she would logically delay revealing. And this shift is not accidental. It is intentional. It is a test, not a cruel one, a sincere one. She is asking, without saying it out loud, can you handle the real me? This is one of the most subtle psychology tricks in modern dating, and it tells you more than compliments ever will. The speed matters. If she opens up quickly, sooner than expected, sooner than socially required, it means she wants clarity now. She doesn't want to invest months only to discover later that honesty scares you away. Don't misunderstand this moment. Don't rush to fix her. Don't rush to reassure her. That is surface-level behavior. That is missing the point. When she reveals something inconvenient, she is not asking for comfort. She is offering vulnerability and waiting to see if you can meet her there. That is the invitation. And here is where strong men separate themselves. You must match her courage with your own, not by oversharing, not by confessing for attention, but by offering something real, something unpolished, something true. That is how trust forms. That is how to fall in love as an adult, not through fantasy, but through mutual exposure. Be calm. Be grounded. Don't react emotionally. Be steady. Let her see that honesty does not shake you, that it doesn't lower her value in your eyes, because what she is truly measuring is safety, emotional safety. Can she be known by you without being judged? Can she lower the mask without losing your respect? This is why men who understand female psychology don't chase validation. They create space, space for truth, space for depth, space for connection. And when you respond with presence instead of performance, when you reveal something real instead of saying the right thing, you signal confidence without force, strength without pressure. That is powerful. That is attractive. That is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in relationships today. Remember this. Don't dismiss her honesty. Don't rush past it. Stand in it. Meet it. Because when a woman chooses to show you her inconvenient truths early, she is not pushing you away. She is seeing if you are capable of something real. 11. She shifts her body orientation when new people enter the space. If you know how to read this, it tells you more than anything she says out loud. Picture the moment. You're talking, just the two of you. The conversation is flowing. Then someone else walks over. A friend, a coworker, anyone. This is where most men mentally drift. Don't. Stay present. Watch what her body does. When there is no emotional investment, her posture opens evenly. Her shoulders square up. Her stance widens to include the newcomer. Attention is distributed equally. That is neutral interaction. That is social politeness. But when something real has been forming between you, her body tells a different story before her words ever do. She may briefly turn her head or shoulders to acknowledge the new arrival, but her core stays angled toward you. Her feet don't fully shift. Her torso remains pointed in your direction like a compass that refuses to recalibrate. That is not accident. That is instinct. That is masculine energy being met with subconscious priority. Her body is choosing you even while her mind is still trying to be socially appropriate. This isn't about manners, it's about focus. Her body is protecting the connection from being diluted. She is signaling, without saying a word, that this interruption is temporary. But you are the fixed point. Most men miss this because they get distracted by the noise. They start performing. They start competing. Don't. Be calm. Be grounded. A high-value man doesn't scramble for attention. He notices where it already is. That is power. When you stay relaxed while others enter the space, you project certainty. You don't rush to reclaim the spotlight. You don't force yourself into the conversation. You let her body do the talking. That calm presence is what helps attract women without effort, because confidence is not loud. It is stable. Understand this clearly. Her body orientation is not conscious strategy. It is emotional gravity. When she keeps her core aligned with you, she is prioritizing you without realizing she's doing it. That is why this signal is so reliable. Words can be chosen. Bodies tell the truth. You must learn to observe without reacting. Don't interrupt the moment. Don't test her. Don't make jokes to pull attention back. Stay where you are. Stay centered. Let her feel that you are unshaken. That steady presence amplifies masculine energy, and it reinforces her internal sense that you are someone worth staying connected to. This is how awareness separates men. A high-value man doesn't guess. He observes, he doesn't chase signals. He recognizes them. When you understand how attention truly works, you naturally attract women because you stop needing reassurance. You become the anchor instead of the audience. And when her body keeps choosing you, even in a crowded room, you don't need to ask where you stand. You already know. 12. She modifies how she reacts to compliments you give versus others. When a woman subtly changes how she reacts to your compliments compared to everyone else's, you are watching attraction reveal itself in real time. Attraction does not announce itself loudly, it leaks through behavior, and this is one of the clearest leaks you will ever see. Another man tells her she looks great, and she responds on autopilot. A polite smile, a quick thank you, emotional neutrality, because his words carry no weight. But when you offer a similar compliment, and her reaction suddenly hesitates, shifts, or becomes awkward, that hesitation is the signal, not the words themselves. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, what we feel and how we react is shaped not by events, but by the meaning we assign to them. To her nervous system, your opinion now carries meaning, higher stakes, emotional charge, consequence, which is why she may laugh too quickly, look away, deflect with humor, or change the subject, even though she accepted the same praise moments earlier without effort. This is not insecurity, this is valuation. Men who understand old Stoic wisdom know that value is revealed by reaction, not by declaration. When a woman is emotionally neutral toward you, she stays smooth. When she cares, her composure bends. In modern life, where compliments are cheap, attention is everywhere, and validation flows constantly through screens, only the words of a man she respects can disrupt her rhythm. That is why Epictetus warned, if you wish to know what is truly valued, observe what disturbs the calm. Her calm breaks slightly around you. The instruction here is simple but powerful. Do not chase the reaction. Do not press for reassurance. Do not amplify the moment. The iron mind understands that attraction grows in space, not pressure. Stoicism win is not about forcing outcomes, but recognizing leverage and holding it quietly. Notice how your presence alters her emotional processing. Notice how she becomes more self-aware around you. Notice how your approval carries weight she cannot casually dismiss. Then remain steady, grounded, and composed, because nothing strengthens attraction faster than a man who does not rush to capitalize on it. As Seneca said, he is powerful who has power over himself. This is where iron mind discipline separates experienced men from impatient ones. When she fumbles with your praise, it means your words matter. When your words matter, you matter. The man who truly understands old Stoic wisdom does not seek confirmation. He observes patterns. He stays calm. He lets interest rise naturally. He continues living his purpose, knowing that attraction deepens when a woman feels emotion she cannot fully control. This is how Stoicism win operates in relationships, not through tactics, but through presence, restraint, and confidence. Master this, and you do not just understand women better, you master life with clarity, strength, and an unshakable iron mind. If this insight resonated with you, take a second to support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who needs this clarity, and subscribe for more psychology-backed wisdom about attraction and human behavior. And now, let's lock this lesson into your mind. When a woman reacts differently to your compliments, hesitating, laughing nervously, deflecting, or getting flustered, it's not because your words were wrong. It's because your opinion carries weight. Your presence matters. Your voice matters. That's attraction revealing itself quietly but clearly. Comment to remember and reinforce this truth. My words carry weight because I am a high-value man. Drop that comment below. Say it. Own it. Repetition builds identity, and identity shapes how the world responds to you. 13. She changes how long she holds on to borrowed items. Here's the truth most men miss, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When a woman changes how long she holds on to something you lent her, a book, a jacket, a charger, something small and forgettable, that shift is not accidental and it's not carelessness. Don't brush it off. Don't laugh it away. Be alert. That is one of the quietest yet clearest signals in female psychology. Most men assume she simply forgot to return it, but forgetting doesn't last for weeks. Forgetting doesn't leave your jacket draped over her chair or your book sitting neatly on her nightstand. What's really happening is psychological, subtle, and deeply human. Returning an item closes a loop, and keeping it keeps the connection alive. That borrowed object becomes an excuse without words, a bridge she doesn't want to burn, a reason, however small, to see you again. In female psychology, emotional continuity matters more than logical efficiency, and this is where psychology tricks reveal themselves. She may not consciously think, I'll keep this so I can see him again, but the emotional instinct is there. You must understand this. When she hands things back quickly, cleanly, with no hesitation, you are filed away neatly, safely, comfortably. That is the mental category of familiarity, not desire. But when she delays, when she keeps forgetting, when the item stays with her longer than it needs to, she is unconsciously keeping the door open. Be clear about this. Be calm about this. Don't confront her. Don't tease her about stealing your stuff. That is not the move. The move is awareness. The move is restraint. The move is letting the thread remain uncut while you observe her behavior deepen. This is how to fall in love without forcing it, without chasing, without words that scare things away. Men who understand female psychology know that attraction often grows in the space between interactions, not in constant contact. That jacket in her space carries your presence. That book on her shelf carries your energy. And energy matters more than explanations. Psychology tricks like this work because they are rooted in emotion, not strategy, even if they look strategic from the outside. You must watch patterns, not promises. One delayed return means little. Repeated delay means something is forming. Don't rush to define it. Don't rush to label it. Let it breathe. This is how to fall in love slowly, naturally, and with dignity. In modern life, where attention is scattered and connections are disposable, A woman choosing to keep a small piece of you is a meaningful act. It says she is not ready for the exchange to end. It says she wants continuity. And continuity is where attraction quietly turns into something real. This is female psychology at work. This is how to fall in love without pressure. And once you understand these psychology tricks, you stop guessing and you start seeing. Hey, my friend, glad you stayed until the end. Now listen carefully. Once you understand how her behavior changes after she's interested, you gain clarity. But real power comes from recognizing what happens before that. There is always a quiet phase, no big signals, no obvious moves, just subtle attempts to catch your attention without risking rejection. Most men miss it because they're waiting for something loud. Don't do that. Be observant. Be calm. Pay attention to the small shifts, the timing, the effort that seems casual but isn't. That's where awareness separates confident men from confused ones. My sincere advice to you is this: don't chase noise. Learn to read silence. Don't rush. Stay grounded. When you understand the early signs, you stop guessing and start leading. The manly gesture that melts any woman and almost nobody uses. Psychology tricks. Have you ever noticed how some men don't say much, don't show off, yet women feel drawn to them almost instantly? There is a single gesture, quiet, grounded, and deeply masculine, that can make a woman feel seen and safe within seconds. And here's the truth most men miss. It has nothing to do with looks, money, or clever lines. As Leo Tolstoy once said, love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. This gesture comes from appreciation, presence, and inner steadiness, qualities that can't be faked and are rarely practiced today. In this video, we'll break down what this gesture really is, why it works on both an emotional and psychological level, how to tell when she's responding to it, and how to express it naturally without trying to impress or perform. But before we go deeper, if this message already resonates, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and city in the comments. And tell me honestly, do you believe one simple, genuine gesture can create real attraction? Share your thoughts. Your voice is what builds this community. Now let's begin. 1. The most common mistake men make. Most men keep repeating the same mistake when they want to connect with a woman, and it feels reasonable to them, almost logical, because they believe attraction is something you build by impressing her, so they add more effort, more words, more explanations, more proof, more humor, more stories, more demonstrations of value, and they think if they just do enough, something will click. But that belief is exactly why most men get connection completely wrong, because attraction does not begin in a woman's logical mind. It begins in her body, and it happens far faster than most men are willing to accept. We're talking milliseconds. Before a sentence is finished, before a joke lands, before an achievement is mentioned, her nervous system is already responding. Through thousands of years of evolution, female psychology has been shaped to detect intention, emotional stability, and safety instantly, not through analysis, but through sensation. And that is why a woman can meet a man and almost immediately feel something clear and strong without being able to logically explain it. I feel calm here. I feel safe. I feel drawn in, or the opposite. Something feels tense. Something feels rushed. Something feels off. That sensitivity is not intuition in a mystical sense. It is biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this is where the manly gesture almost nobody uses becomes so powerful, because it bypasses the need to convince and speaks directly to her nervous system. Don't rush to fill silence. Don't perform. Don't try to steer the moment. Be present. Be still. Be grounded in your body and your pace. That pause before you speak, that relaxed breath, that unhurried movement, that ability to listen without interrupting, that calm eye contact without forcing intensity, that is the gesture. It signals emotional self-control. It signals confidence without aggression. It signals safety without weakness. And safety is where attraction quietly grows. This is why so many psychology tricks fail when men use them mechanically, because psychology tricks aimed at the mind miss the fact that female psychology has already decided how it feels long before logic shows up. A woman's body responds to regulation, not stimulation. When you are calm, she feels calmer. When you are centered, she feels steadier. When you are not trying to impress, she feels no pressure to perform either. That is how to fall in love begins in the real world, not with excitement first, but with ease. You must understand this deeply. Attraction is not created by chasing attention. It is created by creating emotional space. Be slower than the moment demands. Be quieter than your impulse wants. Let silence work for you instead of fighting it. That calm presence is rare, and rarity is attractive. When you master this, you stop needing constant psychology tricks because your behavior itself aligns with female psychology at the deepest level. This is how to fall in love unfolds naturally when a woman feels safe enough to open, curious enough to stay, and relaxed enough to let attraction grow without force. 2. What happens biologically and emotionally? What happens biologically and emotionally when a woman perceives authenticity plus security plus genuine intention is not a mystery, even though it often feels like one to men, because the process happens below language, below logic, and below conscious choice, and that is exactly why it is so powerful. When those three signals align, something ancient wakes up inside her nervous system, an evolutionary truth that has been refined over thousands of years. And in that moment, an emotional switch flips that she cannot consciously control, no matter how intelligent, guarded, or experienced she is. Don't argue with this. Don't try to outthink it. This is biology meeting emotion in real time. Her system is designed to scan for safety first, then intention, then consistency, and when those signals feel real, not forced, not rushed, not performative, her natural defenses drop without her deciding to lower them. That is what most men never understand. She is not choosing to open. The opening happens. What I call an emotional opening is created, not through persuasion, but through presence. Be clear on this. Be steady. Be real. That is what signals a high-value man long before titles or accomplishments ever enter the room. When authenticity is felt, her body relaxes. When security is sensed, her breath deepens. When genuine intention is perceived, her attention stays. This is not romance novel fantasy. This is female psychology responding to masculine energy that is calm, grounded, and unthreatening. And here is the part that makes many men uncomfortable, but also explains everything. The most powerful moment is when her body will betray her. She can't hide it. Her posture softens. Her voice changes slightly. Her eyes linger a fraction longer. Her movements become slower, more fluid. These are not conscious signals. They are involuntary responses. That is why no surface-level advice can compete with real presence. Don't perform confidence. Be confident. Don't chase reactions. Create safety. You must understand that to attract women at a deep level, you are not triggering desire through words. You are allowing her nervous system to feel regulated in your presence. That regulation is the foundation of attraction. This is why men who talk less but feel solid are often perceived as more attractive than men who say all the right things but feel restless. Masculine energy, when it is healthy, does not push. It holds. It does not impress. It reassures. It does not demand. It invites. And when a woman feels that, her defenses no longer need to stay alert. The emotional switch flips. The emotional opening forms. Her body responds before her mind can object. That is not manipulation. That is alignment. Be careful here. This is not about tricks. This is about becoming the kind of man whose internal state communicates safety and direction at the same time. That is the signature of a high-value man, and it is why he can attract women without chasing or proving. When your presence is congruent, when your actions match your energy, when your intention feels clean, female psychology responds automatically. You must stop trying to convince her that you are trustworthy and start being someone whose energy feels trustworthy. Don't rush intimacy. Don't force momentum. Let the emotional opening expand naturally. That patience is masculine energy at its most powerful. It signals strength without pressure. It signals interest without urgency. It signals desire without neediness. And this is why her body will betray her in the best possible way, because the nervous system cannot lie even when the mind wants to stay cautious. This is how men who truly attract women operate differently. They understand that attraction is not built by stacking techniques, but by embodying consistency. Be calm, be intentional, be present. That is how the emotional switch flips. That is how defenses lower. That is how attraction moves from resistance to receptivity without a single word needing to explain it. If this hit home, take action right now. Drop this in the comments and lock it in. I move with calm intention, and my presence speaks before my words. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us. Because a man who doesn't rush is a man who commands respect. 3. The melting gesture, the 3 key elements. What almost nobody teaches men anymore, but what women still feel instantly and deeply, is not a line, not a trick, not a performance, but a gesture rooted in old Stoic wisdom, the slow approach, the firm yet soft gaze, and the courage to leave silent space untouched, because this combination communicates something rarer than confidence. It communicates inner completeness, and that is why it melts a woman without effort. The slow approach matters because speed signals need, urgency signals hunger, and hunger, no matter how well dressed, creates pressure, while calm movement signals control, intention, and self-respect. The kind of control that comes from an iron mind that does not rush toward outcomes, but allows moments to unfold. When you move slowly, you are telling her without words that you are not chasing validation, not performing for approval, not trying to win anything. You are simply arriving, and arrival without urgency is power. Then comes the gaze, the most misunderstood and most powerful element, because this is not a predator stare that invades her space, and it is not a timid glance that escapes too quickly, but a grounded, relaxed, steady look that says, "I see you, and I am comfortable here." A gaze that holds for a breath longer than average, then softens, then returns, never demanding, never withdrawing, never apologizing for its presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be satisfied with even the smallest progress," and treat the result of it as no small matter. And this gaze is exactly that: small, controlled, intentional, yet profoundly felt. The reason most men fail here is intention. When your eyes are secretly asking for something, approval, attraction, reassurance, women sense the imbalance immediately, because need leaks through micro-expressions faster than words ever could. But when your intention is simply to share the moment, to stand calmly in it, to allow silence to exist without filling it, her nervous system relaxes, and relaxation is where attraction begins. Silence, in modern life, has become terrifying for many men because they confuse constant talking with value. But silence is not emptiness, it is space, and space allows emotions to breathe. When you can stand in silence without fidgeting, without explaining yourself, without reaching for your phone or your ego, you demonstrate self-trust, and self-trust is magnetic. Epictetus taught that freedom is found in wanting nothing outside yourself, and when a woman feels that you want nothing from her, no reaction, no confirmation, no outcome, she feels safe to move toward you, because safety is the soil in which desire grows. In today's world of endless notifications, rushed conversations, and performative confidence, this gesture stands out because it feels ancient, grounded, almost forgotten, yet deeply familiar. Like something her body recognizes before her mind explains it. This is why Stoicism win is not about tricks, but about mastery, because mastery removes need, and needlessness creates gravity. You must practice this deliberately. Slow your walk as you approach. Feel your feet on the ground. Lift your eyes calmly. Hold her gaze with warmth, not hunger. Allow a pause before speaking, and if silence appears, let it stay. Do not rush to rescue it. Because the man who can sit comfortably in silence is telling the world he trusts himself. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free, and bravery here is not loudness, it is restraint. It is choosing not to chase the moment, but to inhabit it fully, and when you inhabit the moment, others feel invited into it. Repeat this principle in business meetings, in conversations with friends, in everyday interactions, because consistency builds identity, and identity builds attraction without effort. This is old Stoic wisdom applied to modern relationships, where the strongest signal you can send is calm presence. Do not stare. Do not avoid. Be there. Be steady. Be unhurried. Let your gaze say what words cannot. I am complete, and I choose to share this moment with you. This is not manipulation. It is alignment. This is not performance. It is posture of the soul. Train it daily. Walk slower. Breathe deeper. Speak less. Hold space longer. Let silence work for you. Let your eyes communicate certainty without demand. This is how you build an iron mind. This is how you win quietly. This is why Stoicism win is not about conquering others, but mastering yourself. Because when you master yourself, attraction follows naturally, effortlessly, and on your terms. 4. The 3 elements revealed. The secure silence is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful gestures a man can use, and almost nobody truly masters it, even though it sits at the very center of attraction and connection. This is the moment where most men quietly lose ground without realizing it. A pause appears. A few seconds of stillness settle into the air. And instead of standing calmly inside that moment, many men rush to escape it. They talk. They explain. They joke. They fill the space with noise, not because it adds value, but because silence makes them uneasy. Don't do that. Be aware of what's happening beneath the surface. That discomfort isn't coming from her. It's coming from a lack of inner stillness. And female psychology responds instantly to that. Well-handled silence is not awkward. It is not empty. It is full. It carries presence, certainty, and quiet confidence. It communicates something powerful without a single word. That is why it works so deeply in female psychology and why it plays such a central role in how to fall in love naturally, without effort or performance. When you remain calm in silence, you're not withdrawing. You're not disengaging. You are anchoring the moment. You are saying, without saying it, I am comfortable with myself and I am comfortable with you. That message lands far deeper than clever lines or constant conversation. Be still. Let the moment breathe. Silence, when grounded, creates emotional safety. It signals that you are not seeking approval. You are not chasing validation. You are simply present. And presence is rare. Presence is felt. Presence is magnetic. This is one of those psychology tricks that doesn't look like a trick at all because it's rooted in self-mastery, not manipulation. Women sense it immediately. They feel it in their nervous system before they can explain it in words. That's how female psychology works. It responds first to energy, then to logic. Most men think attraction is built by doing more, talking more, explaining more, impressing more. That belief quietly works against them. Attraction often grows in the spaces between words, in the moments where nothing is forced. Don't rush to fill silence just to prove something. Be steady. Be grounded. Let your calm speak. Silence handled well creates contrast. It slows the interaction down. It gives emotions room to surface. And emotions need space to grow if you want to understand how to fall in love in a way that lasts. Constant noise blocks that process. Stillness allows it. There is something deeply reassuring about a man who doesn't panic when the conversation pauses. It tells her that he trusts himself. It tells her he's not performing. It tells her he doesn't need constant stimulation to feel secure. That kind of emotional stability is incredibly attractive, especially as people grow older and value depth over excitement. This is why secure silence becomes more powerful with maturity. It reflects life experience. It reflects inner order. And in female psychology, inner order often translates into emotional reliability. Be clear about this. Silence does not mean being cold. It does not mean being distant. It means being present without pressure. You can maintain eye contact. You can relax your body. You can stay open. You simply don't rush to fill every gap. That is the difference. That is the gesture almost nobody uses correctly. When silence feels calm instead of tense, it becomes an invitation. It allows her to step forward emotionally. It allows curiosity to build. And curiosity is one of the strongest drivers in how to fall in love. People lean toward what feels grounded, not what feels frantic. Many men underestimate how much they reveal when they can't tolerate silence. Nervous talking often signals internal unrest. Over-explaining signals a need to be understood immediately. Filling every pause signals a fear of losing connection. Don't do that. Trust the moment. Trust yourself. When you're at ease, silence becomes a shared space rather than an empty one. That shared space is where connection deepens. That's where attraction matures. That's where psychology tricks stop being tricks and start becoming natural expressions of who you are. In female psychology, calm confidence is not loud. It is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rush. It doesn't push. Secure silence embodies that perfectly. It shows that you don't need to control the interaction to feel okay inside. You are already okay. That inner state is what others respond to. This is why silence, when used with awareness, feels so different from withdrawal. Withdrawal feels closed. Secure silence feels open and steady. One repels. The other draws in. If you want to understand how to fall in love without games, without pressure, and without pretending to be someone you're not, start here. Learn to sit comfortably in silence. Learn to pause without anxiety. Learn to let moments unfold instead of forcing them forward. Be patient. Be centered. Be present. These are not flashy psychology tricks, but they work because they align with how female psychology actually functions. Attraction grows where safety and presence meet. The irony is simple. The less you try to impress in these moments, the more impact you have. Silence gives weight to your words when you do speak. It gives depth to your presence. It allows the interaction to feel real rather than rushed. And real connection is what most people are quietly searching for, even if they don't say it out loud. So don't fear the pause. Don't rush the moment. Don't fill the space out of habit. Be still. Be grounded. Let your calm do the work. Because when silence is secure, it doesn't push love away. It invites it in. If this insight hit home, don't just scroll past it. Pause. Let it sink in. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a man who needs to understand presence, not pressure. Now lock this lesson into your mind by commenting this below backhand index pointing down, I am present, grounded, and I don't seek validation. Say it once. Mean it. Because the strongest attraction is felt in silence, not chased with words. 5. The secure silence. Why this combination works is not mystery, magic, or manipulation. It is biology meeting emotional intelligence. When you combine these three elements, the slow approach, the soft present gaze, and secure silence, you activate something deep and ancient inside her nervous system. You are not pushing. You are not chasing. You are not trying to win. You are allowing. And that difference changes everything. The slow approach signals patience. It tells her body there is no rush and no pressure. In female psychology, speed often equals danger. Slowness equals safety. When you move slowly, you activate her parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for relaxation, connection, and trust. That is where attraction actually grows. Don't underestimate this. Be intentional. That is how a high-value man moves. Calm, measured, grounded. He does not hurry moments that are meant to unfold. Now contrast that with moving too fast. When you rush your words, your movements, or your intentions, you flip a different switch entirely. Her sympathetic nervous system turns on. Alert mode. Fight or flight. Even if she smiles. Even if she stays polite. Her body is no longer relaxed. And attraction cannot grow where tension lives. That is why so many men feel confused. They say the right things, but move with the wrong energy. Don't do that. Be aware of pace. Pace is not about strategy. It's about masculine energy that is controlled instead of scattered. A man who knows how to slow down instantly feels different. He feels grounded. He feels intentional. And yes, he naturally attracts women because his presence creates calm instead of pressure. Then comes the soft, present gaze. Not staring, Not intensity for the sake of intensity. Just relaxed eye contact that says, I'm here. That gaze does something powerful on a chemical level. It releases oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and trust. This is not a trick. This is how human connection works. Oxytocin tells her nervous system that closeness is safe, that emotional openness will not be punished, that she does not need to armor herself. Be present with your eyes. Don't scan the room. Don't fidget. Don't rush to look away out of discomfort. That calm gaze is a signature of a high-value man. It shows certainty without force. It shows confidence without performance. It is quiet masculine energy, and it is deeply felt. Now add secure silence, and everything deepens. Secure silence is not emptiness. It is space. It is the pause that allows emotions to surface. When you don't interrupt the moment with nervous talk, you give her room to feel what is happening. That is critical. Feelings need space to form. Silence handled well creates positive vulnerability. She is not being pushed to respond. She is not being led by your words. Her subconscious mind begins to process on its own. And this is where the real shift happens. Without you saying a word, her inner dialogue starts. This man is safe. This man is mature. He's not afraid of intimacy. I can let my guard down. You didn't convince her of this. You demonstrated it. That is the difference between trying to attract women and simply being the kind of man women feel drawn toward. Don't fear silence. Fear rushing what should be felt. Silence gives weight to the moment. It allows her nervous system to stay relaxed instead of alert. It allows oxytocin to do its work. It allows trust to grow quietly. This is why secure silence is so rare and so powerful. Most men panic when there are no words. They feel the urge to fill space. They think connection will disappear if they stop talking. Be different. Be steady. Be calm. That steadiness is masculine energy at its most authentic. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need approval. When these three elements come together, slow approach, soft gaze, secure silence, you create a full-body sense of safety and connection. Not logically, biologically, emotionally, subconsciously. This is why the combination works. It speaks directly to how attraction is wired, not how it is imagined. A high-value man understands this instinctively. He doesn't rush intimacy, and he doesn't avoid it either. He stays present. He stays grounded. He allows the moment to breathe. If you want to attract women without forcing outcomes, you must respect the nervous system, not fight it. You must lead with calm instead of urgency. You must allow space instead of filling it. That is not passive. That is mastery. That is controlled masculine energy. And it is far more persuasive than words ever will be. So don't move too fast. Be patient. Don't over-explain. Be present. Don't interrupt the moment. Let it unfold. When you do, attraction doesn't feel dramatic or chaotic. It feels natural, safe, real, and that is exactly why it lasts. 6. Why this combination works, the science. When you understand why this combination works, everything changes. Because this is not surface-level behavior. This is biology, psychology, and timeless human truth working together. Modern men miss it because they are rushed, distracted, and noisy, while attraction responds to something slower, calmer, and far more powerful. When you combine a slow approach, a grounded presence, and intentional restraint, you activate her parasympathetic nervous system, the part of her body that governs relaxation, connection, and safety. Not excitement alone, but trust. Not stimulation, but comfort. This is where real attraction begins. Because when a woman feels safe, she opens emotionally without being asked, without being pushed, without being persuaded. Science confirms this again and again. Move too fast, and you trigger the opposite system, the sympathetic nervous system, the one designed for alertness, tension, and self-protection. The system that asks, do I need to guard myself? Do I need to pull back? Do I need to stay in control? No amount of clever words can override that biological response. That is why the man who slows down instantly separates himself from the crowd. He is not trying to extract a reaction. He is allowing an experience. That is the difference between pressure and presence. When your gaze is soft but steady, unhurried and grounded, her brain releases oxytocin, the hormone associated with bonding, trust, and emotional closeness. The same hormone that deepens attachment and lowers defenses. This is not manipulation. This is alignment with human nature. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When your inner state is calm, secure, and unthreatened, that calm colors the space around you. Silence plays a crucial role here. Secure silence is not emptiness. It is confidence without display, comfort without explanation. It tells her you are not afraid of pauses, not afraid of closeness, not afraid of intimacy. In that silence, she has room to feel, to notice, to process, to listen to her own emotional response. Most men interrupt that moment because they fear it. They fill it with jokes, explanations, reassurance, or noise. The man who holds silence with ease communicates maturity without saying a word. Her subconscious begins forming conclusions long before logic enters the room. This man is safe. This man is composed. This man is emotionally steady. I can lower my guard here. That conclusion opens the door to deeper connection. Not tactics, not lines, not tricks. This is where old Stoic wisdom quietly outperforms modern performance culture. Stoicism teaches mastery of the self before influence over others. When you embody that, you don't chase validation. You don't rush outcomes. You don't force chemistry. You allow it to surface naturally. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This applies directly here. The man who is internally settled does not need to accelerate the moment. He trusts it. In modern life, fast, loud, overstimulated, this calm presence becomes rare. Rarity creates value. Value creates attraction. This is why men who cultivate an iron mind stand out without effort. Their nervous system is regulated. Their emotions are under command. Their actions are deliberate, not reactive. When you live this way, dating stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like an exchange. You are not seeking approval. You are offering a stable emotional environment. Women feel that instantly, even if they cannot explain it. This is the quiet power behind Stoicism win as a philosophy for modern men. It teaches you to slow your body, settle your mind, and let presence do the work that words cannot. The advice is simple but demanding. Stop rushing moments. Stop performing interest. Stop trying to control outcomes. Enter interactions grounded. Breathe slower. Move slower. Speak less, but mean more. Allow silence to exist without apologizing for it. Hold eye contact without intensity. Trust that calm is felt before it is understood. Attraction built on safety lasts longer than attraction built on excitement. Connection formed through presence runs deeper than connection formed through persuasion. When you master this, you are no longer competing with other men. You are operating on a different level entirely, guided by old Stoic wisdom, strengthened by an iron mind, aligned with the biological truth of human connection. This is not about learning something new. It is about remembering something ancient, something steady, something timeless, the quiet strength that has always drawn people closer. When you embody it fully, Stoicism win stops being a concept and becomes your natural way of moving through the world. If you understand this, you're no longer guessing, you're leading. Because most men rush. They pressure. They trigger resistance. But a man who moves slowly, holds a calm gaze, and allows silence creates safety, trust, and deep connection. So if this clicked for you, don't stay silent. Drop this in the comments right now to lock it in. I move with calm, presence, and self-control, and people feel safe with me. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, real attraction begins when you stop rushing and start being present. 7. Clear signs it's working. Clear signs it's working are never loud, never theatrical, and never something you can force, because when this manly gesture lands the way it's supposed to, her body responds before her mind has time to interfere. And that is why you must learn to recognize these signals with calm attention rather than excitement or ego, because you can't fake physiology and you shouldn't try to rush what is already unfolding. A slight smile appears on her face for no obvious reason. Not the polite social smile she gives strangers, not the defensive courtesy smile, but a quiet, internal smile that comes from pleasure rising beneath awareness. And that smile alone already tells you that female psychology is responding to safety, presence, and emotional grounding rather than performance. And when you notice that her eye contact lasts longer than usual, softer, slower, more receptive, you must not stare harder or lean forward aggressively. Don't chase the moment. Don't tighten up. Be still. Because this is where most men sabotage themselves by trying to do something instead of allowing the psychology tricks already in motion to continue doing their work. Her eyes don't dart away quickly anymore. They linger. They invite. And that invitation is subtle but unmistakable if you are paying attention. And soon after, unconscious touches begin to appear. She brushes her hair back, touches her lips briefly, grazes her neck. Not as a signal to you directly, but as a form of self-soothing created by attraction mixed with positive nervous energy. And this matters deeply because how to fall in love often begins not with words, but with the nervous system recognizing something familiar and calming. And when her body starts moving closer without her making a conscious decision, when she leans her torso toward you, takes a small step forward, or removes physical barriers like a purse, a crossed arm, or the angle of her body, that is not coincidence. That is alignment. And you must not rush to reward yourself for it. Don't celebrate internally. Don't smirk. Don't escalate prematurely. Because the power here comes from your restraint and your ability to stay grounded while female psychology opens layer by layer. Her voice begins to soften. It becomes more melodic, warmer, slower. And this shift in tone happens because her nervous system is transitioning from alert to receptive, from guarded to open. And that shift cannot be commanded or coaxed. It can only be invited through calm masculine presence. And you'll notice her body orientation aligning toward you, feet pointing in your direction, torso angled naturally without tension, shoulders relaxed, posture open. And these signals matter because they are involuntary. They come from oxytocin beginning to circulate, from comfort and trust forming beneath the surface. And even her breathing changes, becoming deeper, slower, more synchronized with yours if you are truly present. And these involuntary signs all point toward you not because you impressed her, not because you entertained her, but because you created a space where she feels safe enough to feel something. And this is where men who rely on surface-level psychology tricks get confused, because they look for reactions instead of responses. And reactions can be acted, but responses cannot. An open posture emerges, palms visible, shoulders relaxed, chin level. And these signals are almost impossible to fake because they are rooted in physiology, not intention. And that is why you must learn to read them without needing validation. Because the moment you look for confirmation, approval, or outcome, your energy shifts and female psychology senses the change immediately. Be calm, be patient, be observant. Because how to fall in love is not about pushing emotion forward, but allowing it to rise naturally. And the man who understands this doesn't interrupt the process with insecurity or urgency. He stays centered. He stays present. He lets silence work. And that silence is not emptiness. It is emotional gravity. And when you understand these signs deeply, you stop guessing. You stop forcing conversations. You stop chasing reassurance. And instead, you move with clarity and self-control, which is why these psychology tricks are not tricks at all, but reflections of emotional intelligence. And when used with respect, they align perfectly with female psychology, because they honor the body's natural responses rather than trying to override them. And that is the quiet difference between a man who creates attraction effortlessly and a man who spends his life wondering why things never quite move forward. 8. How to apply it naturally. The number one key is simple, but most men miss it. Don't turn this into a performance. The moment you think, now I'm going to apply the gesture so she falls for me, it loses all its power. Completely. Because attraction does not respond to technique when technique is driven by need. It responds to authenticity. And women can sense manipulation instantly, not because they are suspicious, but because female intuition is finely tuned to intention. You must understand this clearly. The body reads intention before words ever arrive. So if your intention is to get something, to force an outcome, or to prove your worth, the gesture collapses. Be honest with yourself. If you're doing this to extract a reaction, stop. That is not strength. That is tension disguised as confidence. So how do you make it authentic? You start from a place of genuine presence, not strategy, not psychology tricks. Presence. That means you are actually there. Mentally, emotionally. You are not thinking 3 steps ahead. You are not measuring her response. You are not planning your next move. You are with her, fully. And that alone already separates you from most men. Because a high-value man does not enter moments with an agenda. He enters them grounded, calm, self-contained. That is masculine energy at its most natural state. Not loud, not rushed. Just steady. Don't do it to get something. Do it because you are genuinely enjoying the moment with her. This matters more than anything else. Because enjoyment cannot be faked. You either feel it or you don't. And when you do, your body relaxes. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. Your movements soften. And suddenly, the gesture is no longer something you do. It becomes something that simply happens. That is when it works. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying at all. Move calmly. Move the way you would at home when you are completely relaxed. Think about that version of yourself. The one who isn't performing. The one who isn't trying to impress anyone. The one who moves slowly because there is no pressure. That is the pace you want. Not exaggerated. Not theatrical. Just unhurried. A man who moves calmly sends a powerful signal. He communicates that he is not chasing time, approval, or validation. And that calm movement alone helps attract women far more effectively than clever words ever could. Look without seeking approval. This is crucial. Most men look at a woman while secretly asking a question. Is this working? Does she like me? Am I doing this right? And the moment you ask those questions internally, your gaze changes. It becomes tight, searching, needy. Don't do that. Don't scan her face to see if it's working. That breaks the energy instantly. Because instead of presence, you project insecurity. Instead of calm, you project hunger. Be clear on this. Eye contact is not about checking for results. It is about sharing a moment. Period. That is why silence matters so much here. Embrace it. Don't rush to fill the pause. Don't reach for words out of discomfort. Learn to be comfortable in the quiet space between sentences. Silence is not empty. Silence is where connection deepens. And the more comfortable you are with silence, the more powerful the moment becomes. This is not theory. This is lived experience. A man who can sit in silence without fidgeting, without explaining himself, without entertaining, signals deep self-trust. And that self-trust is magnetic. Most men are afraid of silence because silence exposes them. It removes distraction. It removes performance. But that is exactly why it works. Because in silence, your masculine energy becomes visible. Not through action, but through stillness. Be the man who does not panic when nothing is happening. Be the man who allows the moment to breathe. That patience alone helps attract women more effectively than any scripted line. You must also understand that applying this naturally means letting go of control. Control over outcome. Control over timing. Control over how she responds. A high-value man does not manage attraction like a checklist. He creates conditions. He shows up grounded. He stays present. He allows. And paradoxically, that surrender to the moment is what creates the strongest pull. Because female psychology responds to emotional safety first. And safety comes from consistency, calmness, and presence. Don't confuse this with passivity. This is not about doing nothing. It's about doing less, but with more intention. Less force. Less urgency. Less mental noise. And more awareness. More patience. More steadiness. That is masculine energy in its refined form. Not aggressive. not performative, simply anchored. As you practice this, you'll notice something interesting. The less you try to attract women, the more they lean in. The less you seek validation, the more curiosity you create, because you are no longer asking for permission to exist in the moment. You are claiming it quietly, and that quiet confidence is rare, especially in a world where most men are over-explaining, over-texting, and over-performing. Remember this. Psychology tricks only work when they stop feeling like tricks, when they align with who you actually are, when your inner state matches your outward behavior. If there is a mismatch, it shows. Always. So your real work is internal. Slow down your nervous system. Ground yourself in the present. Enjoy the interaction for what it is, not for where you hope it will lead. Be patient with yourself as you learn this. This is not about perfection. It's about awareness. Each time you notice yourself rushing, pulling, or checking for results, pause. Breathe. Return to presence. That return is the practice. And over time, it becomes natural. That is how you apply it without forcing it. That is how you stop performing and start attracting. Not by adding something new, but by removing what was never needed in the first place. And when you do, you don't just attract women. You become a calmer, more centered man overall. A man who moves through life with quiet certainty. And that, more than anything else, is what truly lasts. Hey, my friend, I'm really glad you stayed until the end. Let me leave you with something simple, honest, and powerful. This gesture that melts a woman is not a trick. It's not manipulation. It's not a performance. It's the natural expression of a man who is comfortable in his own skin. A man who doesn't chase validation. A man who can offer presence and security without asking for anything in return. A man who knows how to create intimacy without invading space. When you develop this kind of presence, it doesn't just change how women respond to you. It changes how you walk through life. You become calmer, clearer, more grounded. So the next time you're with a woman you're interested in, remember this. It's not about conquering her. It's about offering a safe space where she can relax, open up, and be herself. If you want to go deeper, drop a comment below and write, "I master this gesture." And tell me honestly, which one is hardest for you to apply? The slow approach, the soft gaze, or the secure silence? I read the comments and I'll help you out. If this video helped you, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. We're building a community of men who grow through authenticity, not manipulation. Thanks for being here. See you in the next video. Big hug. Take care. She texted after silence, say this to instantly regain power. Psychology tricks. She went quiet. No messages. No calls. No closure. Then, just as you finally start regaining your balance, she pops back up. One casual text. One harmless, "Hey." And suddenly the door you worked so hard to close swings open again. Now your mind is racing. What does this mean? Is she testing me? If I reply, do I lose ground? Understand this clearly. Moments like this are not emotional accidents. They are turning points. How you respond right now decides whether you step back into your frame or hand your power away. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is one of those moments. Most men stumble here, not because they're foolish, but because they're emotionally invested. They reply too fast, too warmly, too available, and without realizing it, they erase weeks, sometimes months, of progress. Today, I'll break down how to answer when she resurfaces after silence, using emotional dynamics and psychological insight most men never learn. Get this wrong and respect evaporates. Get it right and the balance of power quietly shifts back to you. Before we go further, a quick word. If these lessons have been helping you see situations more clearly and act with confidence, you can support this work by subscribing to my Facebook paid membership, sending stars, or joining the YouTube channel's paid community. Your support allows me to keep creating direct, honest guidance, and I'm genuinely grateful for it. Now, let's get into the real reason she came back and what your next move must be. 1. The real reason she came back. The real reason she came back has almost nothing to do with destiny, romance, or sudden emotional clarity, and you must let go of that illusion immediately if you want to understand what is actually happening beneath the surface. Because believing she reached out because she realized your value is comforting but inaccurate, and inaccurate beliefs always lead to weak decisions. She didn't text because she woke up overwhelmed with longing. She didn't reach out because she finally understood how rare you are. She came back because something shifted internally. Something destabilized the emotional structure she had built elsewhere. And when emotional structures weaken, the mind automatically searches for equilibrium. That search often moves backward before it moves forward because humans are not linear emotional beings. They are cyclical, reflective, and deeply influenced by uncertainty. This is where psychology tricks begin to matter, not manipulation, but understanding cause and effect, because behavior always follows emotional tension, and emotional tension rises when certainty disappears. When you went silent, you didn't punish her. You didn't teach her a lesson. You simply removed a source of emotional regulation she had quietly relied on. The removal of a stabilizing force always creates discomfort, even if that force was taken for granted, because comfort is invisible until it's gone. Once gone, the nervous system notices immediately, especially in emotionally attentive minds shaped by female psychology, which is wired to monitor connection, continuity, and emotional flow at all times, not consciously, but instinctively. When that flow breaks, curiosity doesn't fade. It intensifies. Because unanswered emotional questions feel heavier than answered ones, even if the answer is disappointing. So don't assume her return equals desire. Assume it equals unresolved tension. Silence doesn't erase emotional memory. Silence creates a vacuum. And vacuums invite investigation, not closure. This is where most men misunderstand what silence actually does, because they think silence is absence, when in reality silence is presence without access. Presence without access forces reevaluation. When attention is always available, it becomes background noise. But when attention disappears, it becomes signal. Your silence transformed you from something familiar into something undefined, and the undefined always commands attention because the human mind hates loose ends, especially emotionally driven minds that constantly catalog relational data, how someone made them feel, how reliable they were, how predictable their availability was. When you went quiet, you became the one unresolved variable in her internal system, the question mark that didn't resolve itself naturally. That discomfort builds quietly over time, not as longing, but as curiosity. Not as love, but as cognitive friction. Eventually, friction demands release. That release often arrives in the form of a simple message, a casual check-in, a neutral opener designed not to confess anything, but to reopen the channel and restore emotional certainty. Because certainty feels safe, and safety is more compelling than attraction when emotional balance is threatened. This is why her message may feel emotionally loaded to you while being emotionally cautious on her end, because she is not returning with intention. She is returning with inquiry. That distinction matters deeply because the moment you misinterpret inquiry as invitation, you surrender leverage. Leverage is not about control. It's about emotional positioning. Emotional positioning determines who leads the dynamic and who reacts to it. When men respond too quickly, too warmly, too emotionally, they collapse the space that silence created. Space is where attraction breathes. Attraction requires room to grow, not reassurance to survive. Understanding how to fall in love at a psychological level means understanding that emotional bonds deepen not through availability alone, but through balance, presence paired with independence, care paired with self-respect, interest paired with boundaries. When you went silent, you unintentionally demonstrated independence. Independence recalibrates perceived value because it signals that your emotional state is self-contained, not externally regulated. That signal flips a psychological switch because people are drawn to emotional stability in others when their own stability feels uncertain. That's why she noticed your absence only after it occurred, not before, because absence reveals what presence concealed. Here's the crucial truth most men resist. She didn't come back because you proved something. She came back because you stopped proving anything. Proving invites evaluation, while restraint invites curiosity. Curiosity is the gateway emotion that precedes attraction, not the other way around. If she truly felt indifferent, she would not have reached out at all. Indifference doesn't investigate, it ignores. But she didn't ignore you, which means your silence disrupted her emotional expectations. Disrupted expectations create internal dialogue. Internal dialogue eventually seeks external confirmation. That confirmation attempt arrived as a text, not a declaration, not an apology, not a confession, just a door knock. Knocking doesn't require vulnerability. It only requires curiosity. Your response, or lack of composure, determines whether that curiosity grows or resolves itself quickly. This is where men either regain their footing or lose it entirely, because reacting emotionally tells her everything she needs to know immediately. It restores certainty. It answers the question she didn't ask directly. Once certainty is restored, attraction no longer has room to expand. So don't rush. Don't explain your silence. Don't justify your absence. Don't flood the moment with emotion. Be grounded. Be slow. Be intentional. This moment is not about rekindling anything yet. It's about holding emotional equilibrium. The man who understands psychology tricks knows that emotional strength is quiet, not performative. He knows that female psychology responds to emotional consistency more than emotional intensity. Intensity without stability feels exciting but unsafe. Stability without desperation feels grounding and attractive. Grounding is what draws people back repeatedly, not fireworks. If you want to understand how to fall in love in a way that lasts, you must understand that love is not triggered by chasing, explaining, or proving. Love grows where curiosity meets respect, where space meets presence, where emotional safety meets autonomy. That balance is fragile. Silence created it. Your job now is not to collapse it through urgency, but to protect it through composure. Composure communicates self-trust. Self-trust is contagious. Once she senses that you are not emotionally dependent on her response, her emotional system must decide whether to move closer or step away. Either way, the decision becomes hers, not yours. That is power, not dominance, not control, but choice. The man who remains centered allows others to reveal their intentions naturally. That revelation is far more valuable than forcing outcomes prematurely. Forced clarity kills attraction. Earned clarity deepens it. That is why silence works, not as a tactic, but as a truth signal. Once you understand that, you stop fearing silence. You stop overvaluing messages. You start responding from strength instead of anticipation. And that shift alone changes everything. 2. The biggest mistakes men make. The biggest mistake men make in this situation is simple, predictable, and costly. Let me tell you exactly what not to do. Do not respond instantly. Do not ask where she went. Do not say, "I missed you." Do not confront her emotionally. Do not act cold or angry. And above all, do not over-explain yourself. These reactions feel natural, even justified, but they quietly dismantle your position the moment you send them. Why? Because her message is not about logic. It is about emotional positioning. That is the part most men misunderstand. The moment you chase clarity, reassurance, or answers, you surrender leverage without realizing it. You move from being the one evaluated to the one explaining, and that shift changes everything. When men respond immediately with questions like, "Where have you been?" or "Why didn't you text me back?" they believe they are being direct, honest, and emotionally open. But emotionally open is not the same as emotionally grounded. What you are actually doing in that moment is revealing your internal state. You are showing that her absence occupied space in your mind. You are signaling that you noticed every day of silence. You are communicating that you were waiting, that you were wondering, that you were checking your phone. And once that signal is sent, it cannot be taken back. This is not about shame or pride. This is about understanding female psychology and how attraction responds to emotional signals, not explanations. That kind of emotional transparency might feel mature, even noble. But in attraction dynamics, it removes mystery instantly. Mystery is not deception. Mystery is simply not putting your inner world on display before it is earned. When she senses that you are deeply affected by the silence, her nervous system relaxes. The tension that pulled her back dissolves. The curiosity fades. The psychological question that motivated her message gets answered too easily. She now knows exactly where she stands. And certainty, when given too fast, is rarely attractive. Women are drawn to emotional challenge, not emotional certainty, not chaos, not games, but calm unpredictability. When you give certainty immediately, you remove the very ingredient that caused her to reach out in the first place. This is where many men confuse kindness with availability. A high-value man understands the difference. He does not punish silence, but he also does not reward it with emotional urgency. He doesn't rush to prove that he was affected. He doesn't rush to close the gap. He lets the moment breathe. That is masculine energy in its most controlled form. Calm, steady, unforced. When you react too fast, you collapse the emotional space that was working in your favor. When you slow down, you keep the frame intact. Acting cold or angry is just as damaging. Some men swing to the opposite extreme, believing that emotional withdrawal or sharp responses will restore balance. It won't. Anger still communicates investment. Coldness still communicates hurt. Both reveal that her silence had power over you. And power is the one thing you cannot afford to hand over. Be neutral. Be composed. Be measured. That is not indifference. That is self-respect. A man who can remain centered does not need to perform distance or demand closeness. He allows his presence to speak for itself. Over-explaining is another silent mistake. Men often feel the urge to justify their own silence, their behavior, or their emotional stance. Don't. Explanations come from insecurity, not strength. The moment you start laying out your reasoning, your feelings, your internal debate, you shift the interaction into emotional labor mode. You are now working to be understood instead of being observed. That dynamic does not attract women. It reassures them. And reassurance is comfortable, not magnetic. If your goal is to attract women, you must resist the urge to narrate your inner world every time there is tension. Understand this clearly. Her text is not an invitation to pour your heart out. It is a temperature check. She is feeling the change in emotional availability and wants to know if the door is still open in the same way. Your job is not to slam the door or throw it wide open. Your job is to answer from a grounded place. Short, calm, unreactive. That response keeps the psychological tension alive. It keeps curiosity present. And it signals that you are emotionally independent, which is one of the core traits of a high-value man. Masculine energy is not about control over others. It is about control over self. When you respond without urgency, you show self-regulation. When you don't chase clarity, you show confidence. When you don't demand explanations, you show that your emotional stability does not depend on her behavior. That is what makes your presence feel solid. That is what shifts the dynamic without confrontation. And that is how you maintain leverage without manipulation. Many men believe attraction grows from being understood. In reality, attraction grows from being respected. Respect comes from boundaries, not speeches. From consistency, not emotional surges. From calm presence, not reaction. If you want to attract women long-term, you must stop responding from anxiety and start responding from alignment. Alignment with your values. Alignment with your pace. Alignment with your life. That is how to move through these moments without losing ground. So remember this. Don't respond instantly. Don't interrogate. Don't confess. Don't explain. Be steady. Be patient. Be intentional. That is how a high-value man handles silence. That is how masculine energy stays intact. And that is how you attract women without chasing, without pressure, and without betraying yourself in the process. If this hit home, don't just watch, claim it. Drop a comment right now and lock this mindset in. I don't chase clarity. I hold my position. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable psychology, and remind yourself daily, silence isn't weakness, it's leverage. 3. Understanding the test she is running. When she texts after a stretch of silence, treat it like what it is, a test of your internal state, not a request for your feelings, and your response must never be emotional. It must be strategic, calm, and deliberately chosen. Because whether she admits it or not, her message is quietly asking, does he still need me? Did I still affect him? Did he move on? Am I still important? And the painful truth is most men answer all those questions instantly, accidentally, and incorrectly by replying with too much heat, too much explanation, too much proving. Don't do that, because her text is not a love letter, it's a probe. An emotional ping sent into your territory to collect data, to see if you're still the same man who was hooked and invested, or if something has changed, if you've evolved, if you've detached, if you've upgraded your self-control, and you have to understand. This with mature eyes. This is not necessarily mean-spirited. It's instinctive, and modern dating just makes it more visible, because attention is a currency now, and silence is a statement now, and messages are little check-ins that reveal far more than words. Women, by nature and by life experience, pay attention to emotional steadiness in men, because steadiness signals safety, and safety signals capability, and capability signals a future that won't collapse the moment. Uncertainty shows up, so when she reaches out, she is checking one main thing. Are you still reactive, or have you leveled up? Are you still ruled by the moment, or do you rule the moment? Are you still pleading for connection? Or are you offering access to your presence on your terms? And that's why your reply must be a controlled answer, not a confession, because you're being measured for composure, not graded for romance. Remember what Marcus Aurelius warned. You have power over your mind, not outside events, is the core of the test, and if you want to pass, you must first decide what kind of man you are going to be when a message hits your screen. Don't become a puppet yanked by a notification. Don't hand your nervous system to someone else's thumbs. Don't let one "hey" or "how have you been" turn you into a courtroom lawyer arguing your worth. Be quiet inside. Be clear outside. Be short. Be clean. Be steady. Because the man who can stay grounded when emotion is available is rare, and rarity creates value. Think of her text like a drone flying over a base. It's scanning for movement, scanning for chaos, scanning for desperate activity, and most men start running around and lighting flares, paragraphs, over-explaining, jokes that beg for approval. Questions stacked on questions. Emotional updates, I missed you, I was wondering, why did you disappear? And all of that screams the same thing. You still control me, so don't do it. Instead, hold your frame the way old Stoic wisdom teaches. No dramatics, no punishment, no rewards. No chasing, no lectures, no subtle guilt. You are not there to scold her, and you are not there to audition for her. You are there to demonstrate that your life is stable with or without her, and that stability is magnetic. Epictetus. Put it clean. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And in texting, your reaction is the whole story. A reactive reply tells her you are still emotionally stationed at the gate waiting for her return, while a measured reply tells her you have a full life, a centered mind, and standards, and in today's world, where attention is cheap and agitation is everywhere, that calm hits like a spotlight. So here are your instructions, simple and sharp. Don't respond from adrenaline, respond from discipline. Don't respond to relieve your tension, respond to reveal your strength. Don't try to win her back in one text. Win your self-respect in every text. You must pause before you type, because the pause is where power lives. Take a breath, read her message once, then ask yourself one question. What does a steady man do right now? And then do only that. This is where Stoicism win becomes practical, not philosophical, because the point of Stoic practice is not to look cold, it's to be unshakable, to stop bleeding emotion onto situations that don't deserve it, and to move with intention. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free," and in modern dating, the bravest thing is not chasing, it's not panicking, it's not spiraling, it's staying composed and choosing your next move from clarity. You're not pretending you don't care. You're simply refusing to let care turn into neediness, because neediness is not love, it's fear in a nice outfit, and fear always makes you bargain. Be careful here. You can be respectful without being available. You can be warm without being wide open. You can be direct without being dramatic, and that balance is exactly what she is looking for when she tests you. If she senses you're emotionally fragile, she doesn't think, good, he loves me. She thinks, this feels heavy and heavy. Does not create longing, light, calm, and confident creates longing. This is old Stoic wisdom in plain English. Keep your internal weather stable even when the outside weather changes. Your phone is not a leash. Your emotions are not a public announcement. Your value is not negotiated through a screen. Now, how does this apply to real life for men 35 to 70? You've got responsibilities, work pressure, family stress, health goals, bills, time that moves faster every year, and you cannot afford to let one person's mixed signals hijack your focus. Modern life rewards the man who can concentrate. Modern life breaks the man who can't, so treat texting the same way you treat business. You don't make major decisions while emotional. You don't reply while triggered. You don't sign contracts in a panic, and you don't hand away leverage by oversharing. If she pulls away and later returns with a casual message, your job is not to unload the emotional backlog. Your job is to show emotional leadership. Leadership is calm. Leadership is patient. Leadership is a man who can hold space without begging. This is where your iron mind is built, not in the gym only, but in the moment you want to react and you don't. Not in the motivational quotes only, but in the discipline of a clean response. Not in the fantasy of being picked, but in the reality of being grounded. Viktor Frankl, who understood pressure better than most, said, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and that space is your throne. Sit in it. Use it. Don't rush to answer her test like a student desperate for a grade. Answer it like a man who knows who he is. If you reply with emotional intensity, you hand her instant proof that she still has you. If you reply with composed simplicity, you hand her uncertainty, and uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity brings attention back to you, not because you're playing games, but because you're no longer predictable. Predictability creates comfort, and comfort kills tension, and tension is the spark. So be calm enough to let her wonder. Be controlled enough to let silence do some of the work. Be confident enough to not chase closure. You must keep your response short and deliberate because long messages feel like justification. You must keep it neutral because neutrality says, I'm good. Either way, you must keep your tone respectful because respect is strength. You must avoid explaining the past because the past is a trap. You must avoid interrogating her because interrogation signals insecurity. You must avoid emotional updates because emotional updates signal you've been waiting. Instead, give a reply that communicates composure, self-respect, and forward motion. Think in terms of, good to hear from you. Hope you're well. Or, hey, I'm in the middle of something. What's up? Or, nice to hear from you. I'm free later this week if you want to catch up. Those kinds of lines do three things at once. They don't punish her, they don't reward her, and they don't reveal your emotional position, and that is strategic strength. It tells her you're not bitter, you're not begging, and you're not stuck. It tells her you have a life. It tells her you're open, but not available for free. It tells her you're calm, and calm is the ultimate flex. And here's the deeper lesson. This isn't just about her. It's about you, because every time you practice this, you become harder to shake in every area of life. At work, under stress, in conflict, in uncertainty. You become the man who can handle delayed replies, delayed results, delayed gratification. You become the man who doesn't spiral. You become the man who moves forward. That's Stoicism win as a lifestyle, not a slogan. That's old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating. That's an iron mind in action. So take this seriously. The next time she texts after silence, do not treat it like water. In a desert, treat it like a test of your standards. Do not flood her with emotion. Give her clarity. Do not chase a feeling. Hold your frame. Do not seek validation. Choose direction. And if you do this consistently, you won't just regain power. In one conversation, you will regain mastery over yourself, and self-mastery is the only power that lasts. Remember, You're not trying to convince her you're valuable. You're demonstrating it through emotional steadiness. You're not trying to win her. Mood, you're winning your mindset. You're not trying to control her behavior, you're controlling your response. And that is how a man becomes unforgettable. Calm posture, clear words, steady energy, and the quiet confidence that says, without saying, I'm good, I'm growing, I'm moving forward. 4. The power frame you must hold. The power frame you must hold before you reply is not a trick you memorize or a line you rehearse. It is a mindset you install and protect, because the moment she texts after silence is not the moment to react. It is the moment to decide whether you will act from strength or from impulse. So lock this frame in now and don't let go of it, because you are not responding to her message. You are allowing access to your presence, and that distinction changes everything. Since she did not reach out because you chased, explained, or tried harder, she reached out because you went quiet, because space did the work for you, because silence created contrast. And if silence brought her back, then breaking that frame too fast is the fastest way to undo the very psychology tricks that worked in the first place. So don't rush. Don't overthink. Don't lean forward emotionally. Be calm. Be grounded. Be unrushed. Be unattached, because that internal state is the real source of power here, not clever wording or emotional restraint for show. This is not about pretending to be unbothered. That kind of performance leaks insecurity. This is about actually being unbothered, because during the silence you are not waiting, you are living, you are rebuilding focus, you are reconnecting with your value, your direction, your standards, your sense of self. And that is why, when you reply from this place, your words feel different, lighter, steadier, more natural, because they are not carrying expectation, they are not carrying hope, they are not carrying a need for reassurance. They are simply carrying presence. And presence is magnetic in a way that no tactic can fake, because female psychology responds first to emotional signals, not logical explanations. And when a man replies from calm certainty rather than emotional urgency, the dynamic shifts without him saying a single controlling word. She feels it. She senses that she does not fully have him figured out anymore, that she is not leading the emotional tempo, that access to him is no longer guaranteed. And this activates curiosity, which is one of the most misunderstood but powerful forces in how to fall in love, because attraction does not grow from comfort alone. It grows from mystery balanced with safety, from consistency balanced with unpredictability. And silence resets that balance, which is why your reply must protect it, not collapse it. So don't explain why you were gone. Don't apologize for having a life. Don't overinvest in the first message back. Be concise. Be warm, but not eager. Be open, but not exposed, because the goal is not to win her over in one text. The goal is to maintain the emotional posture that made her reach out. And this is where psychology tricks often get misunderstood, because the real trick is not manipulation, it is self-regulation. It is the ability to stay centered even when attention returns. And most men fail here, not because they lack value, but because they abandon the frame the moment validation appears. They rush to reestablish connection. They pour energy forward. They try to secure certainty. And in doing so, they remove the very tension that sparked interest. So you must resist that urge, not through force, but through clarity, by reminding yourself that her message is an invitation, not a reward. Access to you is something you allow, not something you beg for. And when you truly internalize that, your tone naturally slows down, your replies become cleaner, your timing becomes relaxed, and suddenly the interaction feels different on both sides. Because she is no longer engaging with a man who is waiting, she is engaging with a man who is choosing. And female psychology is deeply responsive to that shift because it signals emotional stability, self-respect, and independence, all of which creates safety without boredom, interest without pressure. And that is the sweet spot where attraction grows, where conversations feel lighter yet more charged, where she starts investing not because she is pushed, but because she wants to close the gap. And that is why you must hold this power frame not just for one reply, but as a standard. Because once you see that calm presence creates pull, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop micromanaging responses. You stop trying to control how she feels. And paradoxically, that is when you become more attractive because how to fall in love is not about forcing emotion. It is about creating the conditions where emotion can arise naturally. And those conditions are created by a man who is rooted in his own life, his own purpose, his own rhythm, who responds rather than reacts, who allows connection rather than seeks approval, who understands psychology tricks well enough to know that the most effective one is mastering his internal state. Because when you are centered, your words don't need to impress, they just land. And when your words land, she feels it. She leans in. She wonders. She engages. Not because you tried harder, but because you stayed steady. And that is the power frame you must hold, quietly, consistently, without announcing it, without explaining it, without breaking it the moment attention returns. Because once you understand this, you don't just reply differently, you move differently. You relate differently. And you stop giving away your power in moments that are meant to test whether you truly have it. If this message hit home, don't just watch and move on. Like the video, subscribe for more unshakable psychology, and share this with a man who needs to hear it right now. And to lock this mindset in, drop this comment below and let it sink in. I don't react to messages. I allow access to my presence. Say it. Own it. That frame is power. 5. How and when to reply. When she texts after silence, the moment feels small, but the consequence is massive because how and when you reply decides whether you stay grounded or give your power away. The strongest reply is never rushed, never reactive, and never built on questions because questions reveal need, and need collapses leverage, while calm presence creates intrigue. And here is the truth most men never hear. Waiting is not manipulation. It is regulation. It is mastery. It is control over your internal state. Because power is not in speed. It is in composure. And replying only when you are calm, centered, and unattached is how you move like a man with an iron mind, not a man chasing emotional relief. In modern life, where phones vibrate nonstop and instant replies are expected, discipline stands out. Restraint stands out. Silence stands out. Because as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And that strength begins in the pause, not the message. Because when her name appears on your screen, your body reacts before your logic does. Heart rate rises. Adrenaline spikes. Memory floods in. And that chemical surge is not clarity. It is impulse. And replying from impulse is how men undo weeks of progress in seconds. So you wait, not to punish, not to play games, but to let the wave pass, to return to your body, to step back into the prefrontal cortex where strategy lives, instead of the limbic system where emotion rules. And for most situations, a few hours is ideal. Not instant, not dramatic, just natural distance. Because the goal is not absence. It is presence with control. And this waiting period is a buffer, a filter, a moment of self-command that ensures your response reflects who you are becoming, not who you were when you were reactive. Because a man practicing old Stoic wisdom understands that mastery is internal first, external second. And Epictetus said it plainly, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and slow. And slow here does not mean confused. It means deliberate. It means composed. It means unshaken. And that composure is felt through the screen even when no words are spoken. Because energy precedes language. And when you reply from calm, you communicate stability without announcing it, certainty without explaining it, strength without force. And this is why Stoicism win is not about silence as a tactic, but silence as a state. A state where you are not hoping for an outcome, not fishing for reassurance, not chasing validation. Because the moment you hope, you lean forward. And leaning forward shifts power away from you. So instead, you ground yourself. You breathe. You move your body. You walk. You train. You speak to someone who keeps you objective. And you let the urgency dissolve. Because urgency is the enemy of authority. And authority comes from stillness. And when you finally reply, you are not reacting. You are allowing access, which is a very different frame. Because she reached out after silence, not you. And your job is not to analyze why, interrogate the gap, or reopen the past. Your job is to hold the frame that brought her back in the first place. Calm, grounded, unrushed, unattached. Because intrigue lives where certainty meets distance. And distance does not mean coldness. It means self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic in every era, especially today, where emotional chaos is common and discipline is rare. And this is where iron mind thinking separates men who repeat cycles from men who break them. Because reacting quickly feels productive but produces nothing, while waiting feels uncomfortable but creates leverage. And Seneca warned us long ago, no man is free who is not master of himself. And mastery is proven in moments exactly like this, when the phone lights up and the old version of you wants relief, explanation, closure, but the new version of you chooses regulation, clarity, and direction. And when you reply from that place, your words do not seek. They state, they do not chase, they invite, and they do not explain. They stand. And that is how you master not just this interaction, but life itself. Because the lesson is bigger than her message. It is about training yourself to pause before every emotional decision, every difficult reply, every charged moment. Because men who win are not faster. They are steadier. And steadiness compounds over time into confidence, clarity, and peace. And this is the essence of old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating, modern communication, modern pressure, where being centered is the ultimate advantage. And Stoicism win is about choosing long-term strength over short-term relief, choosing discipline over impulse, choosing presence over panic. Because when you control your timing, you control your tone. And when you control your tone, you control the frame. And when you control the frame, you lead without force, you attract without chasing, and you move through life with an iron mind that cannot be shaken by a single text, a single moment, or a single emotion. And that is how you regain power. Not instantly, but permanently. 6. What to say and why it works. What to say and why it works. This is where most men stumble, not because they lack intelligence, but because emotion hijacks clarity in the exact moment restraint matters most. So listen closely. Your reply should be short, neutral, warm, but detached, open-ended, without chasing. That is the formula. Anything more feels heavy. Anything less feels cold. And the men who master this balance are the ones who quietly stand apart because they understand that words are not just communication, they are positioning. Examples matter here, so pay attention. Hey, hope you've been well. Or, hey there, what's up? Or, hey, nice hearing from you. That's it. Full stop. No emojis. No emotional charge. No questions that beg. These replies may look simple, but simplicity is deceptive. Simplicity is power when everyone else is over-explaining. And this is exactly why these responses work. They do not apologize. They do not explain. They do not justify. And they do not seek reassurance. That is not accidental. That is intentional. Because the moment you explain yourself, you place yourself below the moment. The moment you justify, you give away authority. And the moment you seek reassurance, you hand over leverage. A high-value man does not need to announce his worth. He demonstrates it through restraint, through tone, through what he refuses to say. These responses are clean, simple, dignified. They acknowledge her presence without rewarding the absence, friendly without being overeager, open without being exposed. They leave space, but they don't create awkwardness. And that space is where curiosity lives. Curiosity is not created by effort. It is created by contrast. And contrast comes from calm. When you reply like this, you are not chasing momentum. You are allowing momentum to come to you. That is a subtle but critical shift. Because this kind of response keeps the ball in her court. She reached out, not you. That fact alone sets the frame. So now, if the conversation continues, she must invest. She must add energy. She must move it forward. You are not doing the heavy lifting. You are not reviving something. You are not repairing the past. You are simply responding with the same relaxed courtesy you would give an old acquaintance. And that neutrality levels the field. It removes emotional imbalance. It prevents overcorrection. And that is exactly what keeps her intrigued, because intrigue is born when someone cannot quite place where they stand with you. Not because you are unclear, but because you are centered. In modern dating, men are conditioned to believe they must perform to attract women. Perform faster, perform louder, perform more emotionally. But performance signals insecurity when it is unnecessary. A man grounded in masculine energy does not rush to prove interest. He allows interest to reveal itself. That is not manipulation. That is self-respect. And self-respect is felt immediately, even through a screen. You must understand this. Emotional neutrality is not indifference. It is stability. And stability is rare, especially today. Most people communicate from urgency, from anxiety, from the need to resolve uncertainty immediately. But uncertainty, when handled correctly, works in your favor. Do not rush to close the loop. Do not rush to define the moment. Do not rush to ask where things are going. Be present. Be polite. Be calm. That is enough. This is old Stoic wisdom applied to modern communication. The Stoics understood that power comes from governing the self first, not the other person. When you respond without emotional weight, you show that your life is full, your time is valued, and your emotional state is not easily disturbed. That alone makes you stand out. And when men ask how to attract women without tricks or games, this is the answer they overlook. Presence, restraint, consistency. A high-value man does not try to win interactions. He lets interactions reveal alignment. That is a crucial distinction, because winning is exhausting. Alignment is effortless. And this response style filters without confrontation. It allows you to observe rather than react, to see whether her interest is real or momentary, to see whether she invests or fades. Either outcome gives you clarity, and clarity is always a win. You must remember this. Your goal is not to restart something at all costs. Your goal is to remain grounded regardless of outcome. That is where true masculine energy lives. Calm under pressure, light in tone, firm in boundary. When you reply like this, you are not withholding. You are regulating. You are not cold. You are composed. And composure communicates confidence louder than any clever line ever could. Men who master this approach notice something interesting over time. Conversations feel lighter. Women invest more. Pressure disappears. Because the interaction is no longer driven by fear of loss. It is driven by curiosity and mutual effort. That is the environment where attraction grows naturally. And this is why the advice sounds almost too simple. Because simple things feel unimpressive to an anxious mind. But simplicity, when backed by discipline, becomes rare. And rarity creates value. Do not overthink the message. Do not decorate it. Do not soften it with emojis. Do not inject emotion where none is required. Say less. Mean more. Let your calm do the work. Let your steadiness speak. Let her show you who she is next. That is how a high-value man moves. That is how you attract women without chasing. That is how masculine energy stays intact, quiet, and undeniable. All right, my friend, we're going to wrap this up strong. Listen carefully. One sentence can change the entire dynamic. Not because it's clever, not because it's manipulative, but because it shows control. When you don't punish her, don't reward her, and don't reveal where you stand emotionally, you stay grounded, calm, unrushed. That's credibility. That's strength. Here's the real advice I want you to take with you. Stop trying to manage her reaction. Start managing your own state. When you care less about the outcome, you stop leaking neediness. When you stop chasing clarity, you create space. And in that space, curiosity grows. Attraction grows. Respect grows. Remember this: comfort kills attraction. Predictability makes people relax, but uncertainty makes them feel. And feeling is what pulls someone back in. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain yourself. Your silence, your restraint, your composure already said enough. If this video helped you understand female psychology and your own power a little more, Take this lesson into your life. Move calmly. Speak simply. Act from strength, not fear. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. And I'll see you in the next one. Nine hidden signs she's secretly fantasizing about you. She can't stop thinking about you. Psychology tricks. Attraction doesn't shout. It whispers. And only the attentive hear it. When a woman can't get you out of her mind, her behavior tells the story long before her lips ever do. Desire rarely announces itself directly. Instead, it shows up in subtle movements, fleeting expressions, and unconscious habits she doesn't even realize she's revealing. These are the quiet signals, the psychological breadcrumbs that point straight to what she's feeling beneath the surface. Most men miss these signs entirely, not because they aren't there, but because they don't know what to look for. And when those signals go unnoticed, so do opportunities for deeper connection, stronger chemistry, and genuine emotional pull. But once you learn how to read these cues, everything changes. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You begin to understand what her actions are already saying for her. In this video, I'm breaking down 9 hidden signs that reveal she's secretly fantasizing about you and thinking about you far more than she lets on. These aren't random habits or coincidence. They're proven psychological indicators that she's moved you out of the casual category and into her private mental world. Make sure you watch until the end, because sign number 9 is the one women struggle the most to hide. It slips through their control and exposes exactly what's going on deep inside her emotions. The first sign is that she fidgets when you're near. The first sign she's secretly fantasizing about you, and one of the most overlooked signals in female psychology, is that she fidgets when you're near. Fidgeting is rarely random and almost never meaningless when attraction is involved. It is one of the clearest physical expressions of nervous energy. Nervous energy appears when emotions rise faster than logic can keep up, when excitement meets uncertainty, and when the body reacts before the mind has time to put on a mask. If she suddenly becomes restless around you, adjusting her bracelet, touching her necklace, twisting a ring, fixing her watch, smoothing her clothes, or lightly tapping her foot, don't brush it off as habit. Habits don't spike suddenly and selectively. Attraction does. Her body is responding to the emotional charge you create without asking her permission first. This is where psychology tricks quietly reveal what words try to hide. When a woman feels drawn to a man, her nervous system becomes more alert. Her awareness sharpens. Her body starts searching for release from that internal tension. That's why she might absent-mindedly play with a pen, bite her nails, shift her weight from side to side, adjust her posture repeatedly, or touch objects near her hands as if she needs something to ground herself. These actions may look small or even cute on the surface, but underneath they signal heightened attention, emotional stimulation, and a subtle loss of composure that only happens when someone matters. Don't assume she's uncomfortable in a negative way. There is a huge difference between discomfort and charged anticipation. Attraction often lives exactly in that space where excitement and self-control collide. Be observant, not reactive. Be calm, not eager. Your steadiness amplifies her emotional response far more than chasing ever could. Notice the timing, because timing is everything in female psychology. If her fidgeting increases the moment you enter the room, when you sit closer, or when direct conversation begins, that pattern tells you far more than compliments ever will. Here's a psychology trick most men miss entirely. Watch what happens when you step away. If the fidgeting fades, slows, or disappears once you're gone, that contrast is powerful evidence that you are the emotional trigger. Your presence created the internal buzz her body was trying to manage. That kind of response doesn't come from casual interest or polite attention. It comes from mental engagement, from curiosity, from imagining possibilities, from wondering how you see her and how she feels when you look back. Don't rush to call it attraction out loud. Don't label it. Don't test it prematurely. The goal isn't to force how to fall in love. The goal is to understand how attraction builds naturally when pressure is absent and confidence is present. Remain grounded. Speak slowly. Listen carefully. Let silence do some of the work. When you don't rush to fill the space, her nervous energy has room to grow. That growth deepens the emotional imprint you leave. This is where psychology tricks become practical wisdom rather than manipulation. Understanding female psychology isn't about control. It's about awareness, about seeing what others overlook and responding with restraint instead of impulse. When you do that, you position yourself as the calm center in her emotional storm. The man whose presence stirs something she can't quite explain, yet keeps her wanting more clarity, more interaction, more proximity. Don't interrupt her fidgeting by calling attention to it. Don't tease her about being nervous. That pulls her back into self-consciousness. Instead, hold eye contact just long enough. Smile lightly, then relax. That combination tells her you see her without needing to claim anything. That quiet assurance is essential in how to fall in love without forcing outcomes. Attraction grows in the space between certainty and mystery. Her fidgeting is proof that space exists, proof that her emotions are active even if her words stay neutral. Trust what you observe. Stay patient. Let her nervous energy do what it naturally wants to do. Pull her closer emotionally while you remain steady, grounded, and unmistakably present. When a woman's body reacts before her mind catches up, it's not coincidence. It's connection forming in real time. Understanding that is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can quietly master. The second sign is that she plays with her hair. The second sign she's secretly fantasizing about you, and one that quietly reveals far more than most men realize, is that she plays with her hair. Hair is one of the most powerful tools women use to signal attraction, often without conscious intent. When she twirls a strand between her fingers, runs her hand through it, brushes it behind her ear, or flips it lightly over her shoulder while talking to you, she isn't simply fixing her appearance. She's drawing attention. She's highlighting herself. She's saying, without words, "Notice me." This behavior is deeply instinctive. She's not planning it. She's not calculating it. Her body is responding to how you make her feel. In moments of attraction, a woman naturally wants to enhance what she believes makes her appealing, and hair becomes a focal point because it frames the face, softens expressions, and signals openness. Don't ignore that. Be aware. That is where psychology speaks louder than conversation. On a deeper level, playing with her hair often reflects nervous excitement. Attraction doesn't always show up as confidence. Sometimes it appears as self-conscious energy. If she feels emotionally stirred around you, her hands may move to her hair as a way to release tension, calm herself, and stay grounded in the moment. This isn't insecurity. This is stimulation. Her mind is engaged. Her emotions are active. Her body is adjusting. That matters. Timing matters even more. If she touches her hair right after making eye contact with you, right as you begin speaking, or during moments of focused attention, it's rarely coincidence. Patterns don't lie. Random habits don't suddenly activate only in your presence. Attraction does. This is female psychology working quietly in the background, revealing interest without needing permission from logic. Don't rush to react. Don't comment on it. Don't call attention to her movements. You must stay centered. A high-value man understands that attraction grows when pressure is absent. When you remain calm, grounded, and relaxed, her awareness of you intensifies. That steadiness strengthens your masculine energy. It signals confidence without words. It creates emotional safety while maintaining mystery. This is how you attract women without chasing them. Hair play also signals something else that many men miss. It's a form of self-presentation. She's checking herself. She's adjusting. She's subtly asking, "How do I look to you?" That question alone tells you she cares about your perception. Indifference doesn't adjust. Interest does. This doesn't mean she's ready to confess feelings. It means she's mentally placing you into her awareness. She's including you in her internal world. That is a meaningful step. Be patient with it. Let it unfold naturally. But don't stop at the hands. Don't stop at the hair. Because hair and fidgeting are only the surface. The real story is often told through her eyes. Eyes don't lie easily. A woman can control her words. She can even control her posture. But her gaze exposes emotions she hasn't fully decided how to handle yet. Watch how long she holds eye contact. Watch how quickly she looks away. Watch how often her eyes return to you even when she pretends to focus elsewhere. That rhythm tells you everything. When her eyes soften while she touches her hair, when her gaze lingers just a moment longer than necessary, when she looks away and then back again, that combination signals emotional curiosity. She's wondering. She's imagining. She's feeling. Don't interrupt that process. Don't try to rush her into certainty. Confidence doesn't demand answers. Confidence allows space. That is the mindset of a high-value man. Be present. Speak clearly. Listen more than you talk. That is how you amplify attraction. That is how you let her emotions grow without resistance. Masculine energy isn't loud. It's stable. It's controlled. It's calm. When you embody that, her nervous habits intensify because her emotions have room to expand. That's how you attract women who are genuinely interested, not just momentarily entertained. Don't mistake these signs as guarantees. They are indicators, not promises. But patterns matter. Repetition matters. Context matters. When hair play appears consistently around you and fades when you're gone, that contrast speaks volumes. When her eyes light up when you enter the room, when her posture shifts toward you, when her hands move as if guided by instinct rather than thought, you are witnessing attraction forming in real time. You must resist the urge to label it too early. Don't push. Don't test. Don't seek validation. Let her signals come to you. Let her curiosity deepen. Let her awareness grow. That patience is what separates men who chase attention from men who naturally attract it. A high-value man doesn't need to convince. He allows. Understand this. Attraction isn't built through clever lines. It's built through presence, through emotional steadiness, through awareness of female psychology without trying to control it. When you see these signs clearly and respond with restraint, you elevate yourself. You strengthen your masculine energy. You become the man who draws interest rather than demands it. So pay attention, not obsessively, calmly. Let her hair tell its story. Let her eyes finish it. Stay grounded. Stay observant. Stay confident. That is how attraction quietly grows. That is how you attract women without force. And that is how a high-value man moves through these moments with clarity, patience, and unmistakable self-respect. If this hit home, don't just scroll past it. That moment when she plays with her hair isn't random. It's awareness. It's attraction. It's her body reacting before her words catch up. So if you understand this, drop a comment right now and claim it. I notice what others overlook. Like this video, subscribe for more sharp psychology and unshakable masculine wisdom, and remind yourself daily, attention is never accidental. It's instinct. The third sign is that her eyes linger on you. When her eyes linger on you, understand this clearly. This is not coincidence, and it is never accidental, because attention is currency and the eyes spend it first. People have said this for centuries, and they were right, because the eyes never lie even when the mouth does. And when a woman is mentally drawn to a man, her gaze reveals what her words carefully hide, holding just a moment longer than polite, returning again and again as if pulled by gravity, glancing away only to come back because the mind is already engaged, already curious, already invested. And science confirms what intuition has always known, because pupil dilation occurs when emotional interest, curiosity, and stimulation are present, meaning her body responds before she has time to calculate or restrain herself. And if her eyes seem brighter, wider, more focused when you speak, that is not admiration alone. That is attention narrowing. That is her world shrinking down to you in that moment. And when her gaze drifts from your eyes to your lips and back again, understand the meaning without confusion, because this is a subconscious projection of intimacy, imagined closeness, a silent rehearsal of something she may never openly admit but cannot stop considering. And this is where modern men often fail, because they either miss the signal entirely or overreact emotionally, and both responses weaken their position. while a man with an iron mind observes without chasing, understands without rushing, and remains grounded in self-command, because attraction deepens in stillness, not in neediness. And this is where old Stoic wisdom becomes practical power in modern life, because as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, and that strength is exactly what her eyes are searching for. Not validation, not approval, but presence, certainty, emotional stability. The quiet authority of a man who is comfortable being seen without trying to perform. Because when you stay calm under her gaze, when you do not fidget, rush, or seek reassurance, you communicate confidence without words, and confidence amplifies attraction more than any scripted line ever could. And in today's world of constant distraction, where attention is fragmented by screens, notifications, and endless noise, sustained eye contact has become rare and therefore powerful. And when a woman chooses to rest her attention on you, she is choosing you over the chaos, even if only for a moment. And moments compound into impressions, impressions become emotional memory, and emotional memory becomes longing. And this is why the man who understands these signals does not interrupt them with insecurity. He allows them to breathe, because as William Shakespeare wrote, they are portents, but they are not prophecies, meaning the sign is an invitation, not a guarantee. And how you respond determines whether interest grows or fades. So your instruction here is simple and firm. Notice without staring, acknowledge without chasing, stay relaxed, stay grounded, stay present. Let her eyes do the work while you do nothing but remain centered. Because Stoicism win is not about manipulation, it is about mastery. Mastery of self first, mastery of emotion second, mastery of life third. And when you embody this, you stop trying to extract meaning from every glance and instead allow patterns to reveal themselves naturally, because one look can be curiosity, but repeated lingering is intention. And intention forms when a woman feels safe, intrigued, and emotionally stimulated in your presence. And that safety comes from consistency, calm speech, controlled body language, and emotional independence, all core pillars of Stoicism win. And in modern relationships, where confusion and mixed signals exhaust men emotionally, this clarity becomes your advantage because you are no longer guessing, you are observing. And when you observe correctly, you act less and achieve more because you are not driven by impulse, you are guided by awareness. And awareness sharpens judgment, and judgment builds confidence, and confidence is what makes her eyes return again and again without effort. Because the truth is this, women fantasize not about men who chase attention, but about men who command it naturally, men whose presence feels steady, whose reactions feel measured, whose silence feels intentional. And when you cultivate an iron mind, when you live by old Stoic wisdom applied to modern life, you stop reacting emotionally to attraction and start leading the interaction calmly. And that leadership is felt long before it is spoken, because her eyes already know before she does. And your task is not to rush the moment, but to hold it with composure, because victory in attraction is not about conquest, it is about control, control of self, control of pace, control of energy. And this is how you master life quietly, decisively, and without force. This is Stoicism win in action, and this is how attention turns into desire without you ever needing to ask for it. The fourth sign is that she leans closer to you. The fourth sign is that she leans closer to you, and this is far more meaningful than most men realize, because physical distance is one of the clearest, most honest forms of communication a person has, especially when words are carefully controlled or emotions are not yet openly expressed. And the truth is simple. People do not step into another person's personal space unless something inside them feels safe, curious, drawn, and quietly excited. So when a woman begins to reduce the distance between you and her, she is not doing it by accident. She is responding to an internal pull she may not even fully understand yet. And that pull is rooted deeply in female psychology, because attraction often shows up in the body long before it shows up in language. And you must understand this if you want to read the situation clearly, without guessing or forcing meaning where it doesn't belong. So pay attention when she leans in while you're speaking, when her shoulders angle toward you instead of away, when she steps closer than necessary even though there is plenty of room. Because those are not random movements. They're subconscious choices. And subconscious choices are where real desire lives. Don't dismiss them. Don't laugh them off. And don't rush to label them as coincidence. Because that is how many men miss signals that are right in front of them. And when she brushes lightly against you as she walks by, or lets her arm touch yours for just a moment longer than required, that gentle contact is her body testing connection. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that demands a response, but in a quiet, safe way that allows her to feel how it feels to be close to you. And this is where psychology tricks often mislead men, because the loud signs are easy to spot, but the subtle ones are where the truth hides. And this is one of them. And you must be calm enough to notice it, confident enough not to overreact, and grounded enough not to chase it. Because when she leans closer, she is not asking you to do something. She is revealing something. And there is a big difference. And if you understand female psychology at a deeper level, you'll see that closeness is not only about attraction. It's about comfort, trust, and emotional safety. And when she consistently positions herself near you, chooses the seat next to you even when other seats are open, turns her chair fully toward you instead of keeping her body half turned away, she is signaling that she wants to be present with you. Not just hear you, but feel you. And that matters more than compliments ever could. Because words can be polite, but the body tells the truth. And this is where many men make mistakes, by either ignoring the signal or rushing ahead of it. So don't invade her space. Don't mirror her movement immediately. And don't assume closeness equals permission, because attraction grows best when it is allowed to breathe. And the irony is that when you remain composed, relaxed, and emotionally steady, her body will often move even closer on its own, because confidence creates safety, and safety fuels desire. And this is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in attraction. The less you push, the more the pull strengthens. And when she leans in again and again across different moments, different conversations, different settings, that repetition is key, because patterns reveal intention. And intention is where how to fall in love truly begins. Not with dramatic gestures, but with consistent, comfortable closeness. And you must be present enough to notice that she is not just leaning toward your words. She is leaning toward your energy, your calm, your presence. And this is especially important for men between 35 and 70, because attraction at this stage of life is rarely loud or impulsive. It is subtle, intentional, and deeply rooted in emotional resonance. And when a woman leans closer to you, she is often doing something very personal. She is inviting you into her emotional space without saying it out loud. And that takes trust. And trust does not come easily. So don't rush to label it. Don't pressure it. And don't test it with insecurity. Be steady, be observant, and let the moment unfold. Because when you understand female psychology, you understand that leaning closer is often her way of saying, I feel connected here. And that connection is the foundation of attraction that lasts. Not the kind that burns fast and fades, but the kind that grows quietly and stays. And if you want to know how to fall in love without losing yourself, this is where it starts. By respecting the signal without exploiting it, by acknowledging the closeness without demanding more, and by staying grounded in who you are. Because the most powerful response to leaning closer is not action, it is presence. And when you master that, you stop chasing signs and start recognizing them. You stop guessing and start understanding. And you naturally step into a position where attraction flows toward you instead of away. And that is the real lesson hidden inside this fourth sign, one that most men overlook. But the ones who understand psychology tricks and female psychology deeply never do, because they know that closeness is not about touching. It is about connection. And connection is what opens the door to something real. If this opened your eyes, don't just watch and move on. Take action. Like the video, subscribe for more psychology tricks, and drop your comment below to lock this lesson in. Comment to remember, when she leans closer, her feelings are already speaking. The fifth sign is that she mirrors your actions. The fifth sign is that she mirrors your actions, and this is one of the most fascinating and revealing psychology tricks in attraction, because mirroring is not something people usually do on purpose. It happens beneath awareness, quietly, naturally, and almost always honestly. When a woman mirrors you, she is not performing, she is responding. This is how human beings instinctively build comfort, trust, and emotional connection. Think of it like two instruments slowly tuning to the same frequency. At first, the sound is uneven. Then, without effort, they align. That is mirroring. And when it happens between a man and a woman, it tells you something important is already in motion. If you cross your arms and moments later she does the same, that is not coincidence. If you lean forward slightly and she follows your movement, that is not mimicry for fun. That is alignment. If your tone is calm and measured and she begins to soften her voice to match, that is emotional syncing. Pay attention. Don't rush past it. Don't laugh it off. Because mirroring is one of the clearest signs that she is mentally and emotionally engaged with you. Mirroring goes far beyond posture or gestures. It reaches into rhythm, mood, and energy. If you speak slowly and thoughtfully and she adjusts her pace to meet yours, she is tuning in. If you become more animated and she matches that enthusiasm, she is meeting you where you are. And this matters because attraction is not built through impressing. It is built through resonance. When she mirrors you, she is saying, without words, "I'm here with you." This is female psychology at work in its most honest form. Her subconscious wants harmony. Her mind wants to stay connected. Her emotions want to feel safe in your presence. And safety is where attraction deepens, especially for men in the 35 to 70 range, where connection is no longer about speed, but about substance. Be clear about this. Mirroring does not mean agreement. It does not mean submission. It means rapport. It means her nervous system feels comfortable enough around you to sync. That is not something you can fake. And it is not something you can force. You must earn it through presence, calm confidence, and consistency. That is why a high-value man often experiences mirroring without trying. He is grounded. He is steady. He is not chasing reactions. And because of that, people naturally adjust his pace. This is masculine energy expressed quietly, not loudly. It does not demand attention. It attracts it. Watch what happens when you change your energy. If you become serious and reflective and her tone softens to match, she is emotionally tracking you. If you relax and smile and she mirrors that ease, she is responding to your emotional lead. This is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks because many men look only for obvious signs, big gestures, clear statements. But attraction rarely announces itself. It reveals itself in patterns. And mirroring is a pattern you cannot ignore if it appears consistently. One moment means little. Repetition means everything. If she mirrors you once, notice it. If she mirrors you across different moments, different conversations, different environments, understand it. Because repetition reveals investment. Do not test her. Do not exaggerate your movements. Do not turn this into a game. Be natural. Be yourself. Let the interaction flow. The moment you try to manipulate mirroring, you break the connection. And remember this. A high-value man does not chase signs. He recognizes them. He does not rush forward. He allows attraction to unfold. That patience is part of what helps attract women who are emotionally mature and genuinely interested. Masculine energy is not about control. It is about calm leadership. And mirroring often follows leadership naturally. There is another layer here many men miss. She may also mirror your values, your language, and your outlook. If you speak about life with optimism and purpose, and she begins to echo those ideas, that is deeper alignment. If you express curiosity and she mirrors that openness, that is emotional compatibility forming in real time. This is not imitation. This is connection. And connection is how to fall in love slowly, safely, and with clarity. Not through intensity, not through pressure, but through shared rhythm. Don't confuse mirroring with flattery. Flattery is conscious. Mirroring is instinctive. One is chosen. The other simply happens. And because it is subconscious, it is far more reliable. Female psychology often reveals desire through behavior long before words catch up. That is why men who understand these signs stop guessing and start observing. They stop performing and start leading with authenticity. And that authenticity is what allows them to attract women who feel emotionally seen and understood. Be present enough to notice. Be grounded enough not to react impulsively. Be confident enough to let the moment breathe. Because when she mirrors you, she is not asking for proof. She is responding to who you already are. That is powerful. That is real. And that is why this fifth sign matters so much. It tells you that she is not just listening to you. She is aligning with you. And alignment is where attraction turns into connection, where connection turns into trust, and where trust opens the door to something meaningful. The sixth sign is that her feet point toward you. The sixth sign is subtle, quiet, and powerful, and it reveals far more than words ever could. Her feet point toward you, and this is not coincidence. It is psychology in motion. Most people never think to look down, yet the body always tells the truth before the mouth does, and feet are among the most honest indicators of interest in human behavior, far more honest than smiles, nods, or polite conversation. Because facial expressions can be trained, filtered, and controlled, while the feet operate almost entirely outside conscious awareness, reacting directly to where attention, comfort, and curiosity truly live. When a woman's feet angle toward you during a conversation, even if her eyes drift or her words are shared with others, it means her mind has already locked onto you as the focal point. In group settings, this signal becomes even clearer because she might be laughing with friends, responding to someone else, or appearing socially engaged, yet if her feet remain pointed toward you, her subconscious has already chosen you as the center of gravity in that space. As the old saying goes, the body never lies, a truth echoed by Ralph Waldo Emerson when he said, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say, because attraction is rarely announced. It is revealed through alignment, and alignment always begins at the ground." In modern life, where people are distracted, overstimulated, and trained to mask their intentions behind screens and social scripts, these physical cues matter more than ever because attention is the most valuable currency we have. And when her feet point toward you, she is investing that currency without realizing it, placing you at the center of her mental map. This is where old Stoic wisdom quietly applies, because the Stoics taught that truth shows itself through action, not declaration, through patterns, not promises, and this single signal fits perfectly within that framework because it is not forced, not performative, not designed to impress. It simply is. On the other hand, when feet consistently angle toward an exit, another person, or away from you, it signals that her mind is elsewhere, already preparing to disengage, already searching for distance, and again, this is not about judgment. It is about awareness, because awareness is power, and power is calm, and calm is the mark of an iron mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you, and the same applies here, because recognizing attraction does not mean chasing it, reacting to it, or clinging to it. It means understanding the terrain and moving with clarity instead of hope, with observation instead of need. And that is exactly what Stoicism represents in modern relationships, the ability to read reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. For men navigating dating and connection later in life, especially between 35 and 70, this insight is crucial because attraction today is rarely loud. It is layered, nuanced, and often unspoken, shaped by experience, caution, and emotional memory, and women who have lived and learned are far more likely to reveal interest through subtle consistency than bold gestures. So when her feet consistently point toward you across time, across settings, across moods, it means you feel safe, intriguing, and mentally stimulating to her, and that is no small thing, because safety and intrigue rarely coexist unless you are grounded, present, and self-contained. This is where iron mind thinking separates men who feel confused from men who feel composed, because instead of overanalyzing texts, replaying conversations, or seeking validation, you observe patterns, and patterns tell the truth. As Carl Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And here, you are simply making the unconscious visible. The advice is simple but demanding. Do not chase signs, do not confront them, do not test them. Instead, remain steady, remain attentive, remain centered, because attraction deepens when it feels unpressured, when it feels earned rather than extracted. Let it inform your confidence, not inflate your ego. Let it guide your pace, not rush your actions, because mastery in life and relationships comes from restraint paired with awareness, not impulse paired with excitement. In a world obsessed with fast signals and loud confirmations, this quiet key rewards patience, and patience has always been a Stoic advantage, because as Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." And bravery here means trusting what you see without forcing what you want, standing firm without demanding reassurance, and allowing attraction to grow naturally within the boundaries of self-respect. This is how you win without competing, how you attract without pushing, how you master life without chasing approval. Because when your presence is calm, your energy grounded, and your attention measured, others will unconsciously align toward you, sometimes starting with nothing more than a pair of feet pointing your way. And if you can recognize that, respect that, and remain unchanged by it, you're already practicing old Stoic wisdom, already living Stoicism win, already strengthening an iron mind that sees clearly, moves deliberately, and understands that true victory is not being wanted, but being unshaken. If you notice this sign, you're already seeing what most men miss. Attraction speaks before words ever do. When her feet choose you, her mind already has. If this resonated, drop this in the comments to lock it in and engage with the channel. I recognize real attraction when it reveals itself, silently, honestly, and without confusion. The seventh sign is that she touches her neck or collarbone. The seventh sign is when she touches her neck or collarbone around you, and this is one of the most quietly revealing behaviors a woman displays, because these areas are naturally sensitive, exposed, and emotionally charged, meaning her body is responding before her words ever catch up. And when she adjusts her necklace, lightly brushes her fingers along her collarbone, or rubs the back of her neck while speaking to you, it's rarely random or meaningless. Because female psychology tells us that the body often communicates interest long before the mind consciously admits it. And there are two powerful forces working together here that most men overlook. The first is self-soothing, because when attraction creates excitement and internal tension, the nervous system looks for subtle ways to calm itself. Touching the neck is a deeply ingrained calming gesture. It helps regulate emotion, lower internal pressure, and steady her breathing. So don't dismiss it as fidgeting. The observant, because this is her body managing the emotional charge you're creating. The second force at play is signaling, because the neck and collarbone are intimate areas that are rarely highlighted unless a woman feels safe, engaged, and emotionally open. And when she draws attention to them in your presence, she's unconsciously inviting your awareness without making a direct move, which is a classic example of how attraction operates beneath the surface through suggestion rather than declaration. And this is where psychology tricks come into play, because attraction isn't loud, it's layered. And when she pairs this gesture with steady eye contact, a soft smile, or a slight lean toward you, the meaning intensifies. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. And you must understand that comfort and attraction are inseparable at this stage, because a woman does not expose vulnerability unless she feels emotionally grounded in your presence. So don't rush. Don't interrupt the moment. Don't force a response. Instead, stay centered. Stay calm. Because how to fall in love often begins with emotional safety rather than dramatic gestures. And the way you respond matters more than the gesture itself. Because if you become reactive, overconfident, or distracted, you break the emotional rhythm she's creating. But if you remain present, grounded, and attentive, you allow her interest to deepen naturally. And this is why men who understand female psychology don't chase signals. They allow signals to come to them, because attraction grows in the space where pressure is absent. And when she touches her neck while listening closely to you, nodding, or asking personal questions, It shows she's not only physically engaged, but mentally invested. And that mental placement is crucial. Because once a woman starts associating calm, safety, and emotional stimulation with your presence, the bond forms quietly but powerfully. And this is where many men sabotage themselves by over-explaining, oversharing, or trying to impress, when the real move is restraint. Because confidence is felt most strongly when nothing needs to be proven. So be steady, be deliberate. Let silence do some of the work. Because silence allows her thoughts to fill in the gaps. And those gaps often become fantasies. And psychology tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about understanding human nature. Because attraction follows patterns whether people are aware of them or not. And when a woman repeatedly exposes vulnerable areas of her body around you, especially during emotionally charged moments, she's signaling openness and trust, which are prerequisites for deeper emotional connection. And you must recognize that this sign often appears when she's internally conflicted, between wanting to maintain control and wanting to lean in. And that tension is what creates the behavior. So don't misread it, don't dismiss it, and don't rush to label it. Instead, observe the consistency, because patterns reveal intention. And when this behavior appears repeatedly only around you and not others, that exclusivity matters, because attention is selective, and attraction narrows focus. And this is how to fall in love without forcing it, by allowing emotional cues to unfold organically while you remain composed, curious, and grounded. Because women don't fall for words alone. They fall for how they feel when they're around you. And if your presence allows her to feel calm yet stimulated, safe yet intrigued, then her body will continue to speak even when her mouth stays quiet. And that is the quiet power of understanding female psychology. Because once you see these signs clearly, you stop guessing, you stop doubting, and you start responding with intention rather than impulse. And that is what separates men who are constantly confused from men who are quietly chosen. Because attraction isn't created by pushing, it's created by presence. And when you recognize these moments for what they are and respond with patience and self-control, you allow the connection to move forward on its own momentum, which is always the strongest kind. And this is why psychology tricks work best when they're rooted in awareness rather than tactics. Because the goal isn't to force emotion. It's to recognize it when it's already forming. And when she touches her neck or collarbone while engaging with you, that moment is an invitation. Not for action, but for steadiness. And if you honor it correctly, you'll notice that her openness grows, her comfort deepens, and her attention stays. Because how to fall in love often begins long before anyone admits it out loud. And the body always knows first. The eighth sign is that she blushes around you. The eighth sign is that she blushes around you, and this one matters more than most men realize because blushing is one of the clearest windows into female psychology and one of the most reliable psychology tricks the body reveals without permission. Blushing is not strategy. It is not performance. It is not something she plans or practices. That soft warmth rising to her cheeks happens when emotion slips past control, when attraction reaches a level that the nervous system reacts before the mind can intervene. When a woman feels a sudden mix of excitement, curiosity, and emotional tension around a man, blood naturally rushes to the face, and that visible change becomes a quiet confession. If you notice her cheeks warming when you walk into the room, when you speak her name, when you offer a genuine compliment, or when you step just a little closer into her space, don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it away. Don't assume it's coincidence. Be aware. That is her body responding to you in real time. This is where how to fall in love becomes less about words and more about awareness. Many men miss this sign because they are trained to look for loud signals, bold gestures, or dramatic moves, but attraction often speaks in subtle ways. Blushing bypasses logic. It jumps past rehearsed responses. It goes straight to truth. That is why it matters so much. A woman may try to remain composed. She may keep her tone steady. She may even change the subject. But her body has already spoken. That is female psychology at work, revealing itself through instinct rather than intention. When you see the sign, you must slow down, not speed up. Don't pressure. Don't push. Be calm. Be grounded. That is how trust deepens. That is how emotional connection forms naturally. Blushing often appears when she feels seen, when your attention lands on her in a way that feels personal rather than performative. It is the body's response to being emotionally touched without physical contact. This is one of those psychology tricks that works in reverse. Instead of you trying to create attraction, attraction reveals itself to you. And once you understand this, your behavior changes. You stop chasing reactions. You start observing patterns. You learn how to fall in love by recognizing when emotion is already present and allowing it to breathe. Blushing tells you that you matter in that moment. It tells you that your presence affects her internal state. That is not small. That is significant. Be respectful of it. Be patient with it. Don't try to force clarity too quickly. Let the moment stand. Because when attraction reaches the point where the body reacts before the mind, you are no longer guessing. You are witnessing truth unfold quietly, honestly, and without disguise. The ninth and final sign is that she focuses on her lips. The ninth and final sign is quiet, controlled, and incredibly revealing, and it shows up when she focuses on her lips, because when a woman can't stop thinking about you, her body often speaks before her mind catches up. And the lips become a subconscious outlet for imagination, desire, and emotional attention. You may see her gently bite her lower lip, lightly lick them, press them together, or touch them absent-mindedly while listening to you, and none of this is accidental, because as William James once said, the body reacts before the mind explains. In modern life, where people are trained to hide feelings behind screens, filters, and polite conversation, these microsignals are some of the last honest tells left. When her eyes briefly drift from your eyes to your lips and back again while her fingers linger near her mouth, she is not just listening, she is visualizing, imagining closeness, imagining what it would feel like to be nearer to you. And this is where old Stoic wisdom becomes powerful, because the man with an iron mind does not rush, does not chase, does not react impulsively. He observes. He remains grounded. He lets attraction reveal itself naturally, and that calm restraint is exactly what deepens her focus. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events, and this applies perfectly here, because the moment you stay composed instead of overeager, you amplify her imagination, you give her space to project desire." And that is how Stoicism plays out in real relationships today, not through manipulation, but through presence, clarity, and self-control. Understand this clearly. Attraction grows strongest in silence. Tension builds in restraint. Fantasy flourishes when a man does not beg for attention, but commands respect through calm confidence. So your instruction is simple. Hold eye contact without staring. Speak slowly and deliberately. Don't fill every pause. Don't lean in too fast. Let her lips betray her thoughts while you remain centered, because repetition matters. Calm creates curiosity, patience creates pull, and emotional discipline creates magnetism. In a world addicted to instant gratification, the man who embodies old Stoic wisdom stands apart. The man with an iron mind lets signals come to him. And the man who lives Stoicism understands that attraction is not forced, it is invited, reinforced, and deepened by mastery of self. Remember this. She focuses on her lips because she is already focused on you. She touches them because her imagination is active. And she can't stop thinking because you didn't try to control the moment. You allowed it to unfold. And that is how you master not just attraction, but life itself. All right, my friend, before we wrap this up, let's bring everything into focus. What you've just learned isn't about guessing or hoping, it's about seeing clearly. When a woman is truly fantasizing about you, when you're on her mind more than she admits, her body gives her away through these 9 quiet signals. One sign alone means little, but when several appear together, the message is undeniable. Words can be filtered, they can be softened, they can even deceive. Body language doesn't play that game. It comes straight from the subconscious, and it tells the truth every time. So here's my sincere advice. Don't chase words, don't argue with mixed signals, and don't overinvest in confusion. Observe. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Let reality reveal itself. If this video gave you clarity, hit the like button so other men can learn what most never see. Subscribe for more insight into attraction, relationships, and the hidden layers of psychology. Until next time, stay aware, stay disciplined, and move through life with quiet confidence.